money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. Whoa, we voting Dems. Hey, hey, whoa, go make your vote count. We voting the bees out. Elect, 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 better leadership. Go make your vote count. We putting the bees out. Put them out. Reject, reject, reject all dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. Let me go. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. What you say? No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Go make your vote count. We vote the bees out. Elect, 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 better leadership. Go make your vote count. We put the bees out. Reject, reject, reject all dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. Whoa, we voting Dems. Hey, hey, whoa, go make your vote count. We voting the bees out. Elect, 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 better leadership. Go make your vote count. We putting the bees out. Put them out. Reject, reject, reject all dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. Let me go. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. What you say? No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Go make your vote count. We vote the bees out. Elect, 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 better leadership. Go make your vote count. We put the bees out. Reject, reject, reject all dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. Whoa, we voting Dems. Hey, hey, whoa, go make your no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get.
Let me go.
No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get.
What you say?
No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Go make your vote count. We vote till the bees out. Elect, elect, elect. Better leadership. Go make your vote count. We put till the bees out. Reject, reject, reject. All dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we go rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. Whoa, we voting Dems. Go make your vote count. We voting the bees out. Elect, elect, elect. Better leadership. Go make your vote count. We putting the bees out. Reject, reject, reject. All dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get.
Let me go.
No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get.
What you say?
No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Go make your vote count. We vote till the bees out. Elect, elect, elect. Better leadership. Go make your vote count. We put till the bees out. Reject, reject, reject. All dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. Whoa, we voting Dems. Go make your vote count. We voting the bees out. Elect, elect, elect. Better leadership. Go make your vote count. We putting the bees out. Reject, reject, reject. All dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get.
Let me go.
No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get.
What you say?
No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Go make your vote count. We vote till the bees out. Elect, elect, elect. Better leadership. Go make your vote family get. Whoa, we voting Dems. Hey, hey. Oh, go make your vote count. We voting the bees out. Elect, elect, elect. Better leadership. Go make your vote count. We putting the bees out. Put them out. Reject, reject, reject. All dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. Let me go. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. What you say? No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Go make your vote count. We vote till the bees out. Elect, elect, elect. Better leadership. Go make your vote count. We put till the bees out. Put them out. Reject, reject, reject. All dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. The bees out. Put them out. Reject, reject, reject. All dictatorship. Come put up the blue, put up the gold. We are one Barbados. Put up the blue, put up the gold. Red cannot divide us. Like an eagle we go fly, soaring high in the sky. Like a phoenix we gon' rise. Tell them no, we won't die. It's only common sense. You're only about friends and self. Posing with celebrities. That is all we see. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no job, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break. Only friends and family get. No money, no jobs, we break.
Good evening, Barbados. Good evening, Democratic Labour Party family. Good evening, of Holders Hill. A hearty welcome to all of you viewing these proceedings on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and whatever other media that you are so using. We are in the last lap of what has so far been a wonderful race. This evening, I want to introduce to you my co-host, my co-chairman, Mr. Damien Griffith. Damien? The Bible says that in all things give thanks. With that, we're going to stand for a short word of prayer and invoke God's blessings on this evening's proceedings. Please stand. Our God and Heavenly Father, we give thee thanks this afternoon for these wonderful people of Barbados. We pray your blessings on this evening's proceedings. Watch over us, Lord. Bless all the candidates, indeed all the candidates in this race. We ask that your hand would shield them and protect them. Continue to protect your people. Bless this meeting this evening. Bless all the speakers. These mercy we ask in Jesus' precious name and for his sake. Amen and amen. You may now sit. I will now ask my co-host, Comrade Damien, before he introduces his next speaker. Damien, he's a fairly large fella, but we will call him David because he intends to bring down a political Goliath. He is the candidate chosen by the Democratic Labour Party to uproot and unseat the incumbent in St. Michael Northeast. He says it is quite an easy task, and he has the means to get it done. I now hand over to Damien to introduce our first speaker.
Good evening to all in the hearing of my voice. Good evening, St. James. Good evening to the people in the north. Good evening, Barbados. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce your first speaker. And while I think he needs no introduction, I can tell you I am here to introduce a man who is energetic, who is lively, who is a sportsman, who is an educator. This man is interested in the well-being of our youth and of our country. And I say to you, we have a great leader stepping forward to help the Democratic Labour Party once we win on the 19th of January. We are going to have this young, energetic person taking the reins in St. Peter. It is not a hard task for me to introduce Mr. Alwyn Babb, the man who is going to take over the mantle in St. Peter and chart a path forward, ensuring that that constituency gets the type of representation it deserves. Better for everybody there, one Barbados. And I ask you to raise your hands and bring Mr. Alwyn Babb to the stage with a round of applause, the man taking over in St. Peter in 2 days' time.
With new vision and new hope and new voice, oh, we believe the way things will get better, the future brighter, together we'll stand. Oh, Bob, he is the man, he holds us in peace.
Good night to all the residents of Holders Hill. Good night to those who are listening and following us on all social media platforms. Tonight, we are here in support of the Democratic Labour Party, and we are here also in support of all the candidates running in the St. James South, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, St. James Central, Paul Gibson, and St. James North, Charles Worrell. And tonight we are here at a ground named after, in honor of the most honorable Desmond Haynes. And this is significant because sports and sportsmen all over Barbados have made a significant contribution to this country. And tonight, as we gather here, I want you to understand that this is a significant time in our future. This is a significant time where we go to the polls on January 19th and elect a new government to stop what has been happening for the last 3.5 years. And tonight, as speaker after speaker come to you and give you the message according to the Democratic Labour Party and the way forward, I invite you to give your attention. Tonight, I am charged, as we call in the relay, to lead off, to run the lead-off leg. And follow me on this one. In the Democratic Labour Party, we have the concept, one Barbados, one team. And all through this campaign, in the relay when you go, and your name is called, team name is called, you see a number of persons lining up. When the team in red is called, and the legs are called, you see one person. In a relay race, if one person turn up on the line, that team is disqualified. So the only team that you should be looking at is the Democratic Labour Party team. And tonight, I am honored to be part of that team. And I want to draw your attention to a number of things that has been happening in this country. I have had the honor of teaching for over 25 years, coaching for over 30 years. And I have been at the forefront of development of our youth in this country. And I took the decision early last year to step forward as a candidate for the Democratic Labour Party to ensure that I'm part of their future. And don't you know that it has angered some persons? I hear talk of, young friend, you get fired. But I am telling all of them tonight that if they plan to fire me, the residents of St. Peter, the constituency of St. Peter, is planning to hire me on January 19th. And tonight, I take comfort in the words of a familiar calypso, West Indian politician, penned by the mighty Gabby, the Right Honorable. Mayor and Santi want you to hear, your hornet's nest will wither and surely die. Your muddy river will run dry, and disaster will strike you like hurricane. Wind blowing a change all over this island. Time is essential in everything. BLP politician, this is the message I send. So tonight, they don't scare me. Tonight, I am here because this constituents of St. Peter needs representation. And I bring you greetings from that constituency. And as I have traveled around for the last year, early last year until now, I am encouraged by what they have been saying to me. I have been encouraged by the fact that they have raised their concerns with me, expressed their confidence in me. And tonight, I want to thank all of them. And during that time I have been in the constituency canvassing, I have made friends that will last way beyond this political contest. And I just want to say to you, think something is happening in St. Peter. Come January the 19th, don't go to sleep. Turn your focus on that constituency, because for the first time, that constituency is going to send a message to all Barbados that we are supposed to be cherished. We are supposed to have the type of representation. We deserve it, and we are going to find it in the candidate, Mr. Alwyn Babb of the Democratic Labour Party. But tonight, you in his Holders Hill and surrounding areas, I know that you have been concerned even today about what has been happening in this country. You have expressed your discomfort with some of the decisions taken by this government. It would appear that they are bent, hell-bent on snuffing out every piece of anyone or any piece of those, anybody that stand up against them. And I can't understand why they would want to do this. In the press, for instance, if anybody raised their voice against this government, they're either silenced by being bought out. We saw it in the medical field as well. When the president of Babb raised their concerns, when we had our first spike, and expressed that this government was not doing the right thing as it related to the COVID and our borders. And you know that they invited the lady to sit on a committee, and ever since then, she has been complaining about not being involved in major decisions. The only conclusion that you can come to is that invitation was to keep her quiet. And I'm saying to you tonight that if we allow these small incursions on our democracy, and we do not say anything about them, we do not say to our government, you cannot buy everybody, you cannot shut up everybody. We have a voice and we have an opinion, and we should be able to express that opinion and not be subject to your wrath. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have to send a clear message, because if we do not do something about it on January 19th, situations like that can fester and mushroom into something that we are going to be sorry about in the near future. That is why dictators like Stalin and Hitler and around the world were able to rise to prominence. Because people like you and me kept quiet. And we said nothing because, oh, that's a little thing. But there's one blow to kill old cow. We continue to behave in a way as if it is just a little. It's not a little thing. Parents, if you have a child in your home and they start to take up pennies, they start to take up dollars, and you don't do anything about it, they are going to move it outside of your house, go to the next door neighbor, and then it becomes a problem for you and the law courts. We have to nip what we have seen in this country in the bud and say to the Barbados Labour Party, what you are doing is not acceptable. It does not belong to Barbados. You have to raise your voice. And I am telling you tonight that those persons who have earning and singing for their supper are raising their voices louder than you because they are trying to protect their own interests. And I am saying to you that we are more than them. And we have to raise our voices. We have to get out and vote on January 19th. And any government, and we know that from the beginning of COVID and after COVID, people were having a cash flow problem. And they know that there's a cash flow problem. So you know what they do to us in our vulnerable state? They will wave their dollars in front of us because they know that we want to be able to buy food. But I am saying to you tonight that any government or any party that use your moment of distress to exploit you do not have your interests at heart. And you have to say to them, we are not for sale, because, ladies and gentlemen, life continues after January 19th. The little cash that you might get in a t-shirt or a water bottle or an umbrella is only for that time. Life continues after January 19th. And the decision that you are making in this election is about your future, the future of your children and your children's children. So don't allow yourself to be distracted. You focus on the sustainable policies outlined in the DLP's manifesto, which are realistic. And I, as a sportsman, become disgusted because you are struggling as a government to repair or replace a new stadium, still trying to decide where to put a track that is somewhere laying in containers. And you are going to say to us that you're going to build 15 mini stadiums? Housing. We saw in the papers their efforts to put up one Chinese house and then saying that they have 150 more. But we are seeing in their manifesto a promise of 10,000 houses in 5 years. You know what they think of you? They are throwing out numbers. They're trying to get your attention. They're just bold-faced liars. You said in one voice that you have to make serious decisions. That is one of the reasons why you call the snap election. And in the next voice, you say to us that you got all these giveaways and projects planned. But I want them to tell us tonight what are the serious decisions that they have to make. Are we going to see hundreds of layoffs? Or are we going to see the possibility of our dollar being devalued? And these are the questions that you have to ask them. Do not allow them to give blanket statements and then come the next minute and change their mouth. So when they come to you with this airy-fairy and all the promises of 2080, you remember them and you believe them. They promised the sun and moon in 2018. You were angry. And you know some person, when they get real angry, they're very passionate, they don't listen. And that happened to Barbados in 2018. But you discovered after who they really cared about. Write-offs, VAT write-off. Tax write-offs for friends and family. Consultants and committees formed for their party supporters and whosoever will. But what did we get? We got increases in food prices, high water bills, high gas prices. It became evident that we, the ordinary man, were being used or being made to pay for the lavishness that they were extending to their friends and families. They have put up on their posts all around Barbados about stay the course. You gave them 5 years and 3.5 years on their course. With 18 months left, they left a course that they are telling you to stay on. I say tonight, let them stay on it. And they're talking about opposition and don't want opposition. Yes, we need opposition, but it's the Barbados Labour Party that needs to go back to opposition because they have proven that they cannot handle a government in times of crisis. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I want all of you to think about what is happening in this country. What is your responsibility to yourself? Do not allow the frustrations to get to you. I have heard those frustrations being expressed in politics and about politicians. But you have to put that aside. You know in your gut that something is not right. And I'm asking you to trust your instincts for once and for all. And as a coach, over the years, I have had to make gut feeling decisions. And 99.9% of the time, they were right. And if it feels wrong to you today, trust your instincts. It is wrong. And tonight, I want you not to stay home and expect John and Mary, the next door neighbor, to go to the polls and make a decision for you. You have to get up on January 19th and make that decision for yourself. Do not leave it to anybody else. Go in your numbers on January 19th and send the message to all of Barbados that the Democratic Labour Party is the party to take us forward out of this mess and elect every single one of the candidates in this St. James area. Good night and God bless.
Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard from Comrade Alwyn Babb, the standard bearer for the constituency of St. Peter. Before I introduce the next speaker, I want to quote from a lovely document. This document has not been rehashed or post-dated. This is a brand new document, and all the initiatives contained in this are very, very well doable. This is the Democratic Labour Party's manifesto. And if you have a copy, you look at page 9, it speaks to a society that is orderly and built on integrity and good governance. And that is what the Democratic Labour Party stands for. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker I shall introduce to you is a man who has been around since the year 1994. He has campaigned extensively in the parish of St. Joseph, and he tells me that he knows that parish like the back of his hand, and it is time that he owns that parish for the Democratic Labour Party. It is time that we have a rouse in the house. Somebody said we might have a mouse in the house right now, but we want to have a roast in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I want to introduce you to the Democratic Labour Party's candidate for the constituency of St. Joseph, Mr. Randall Rouse.
DLP, we voting DLP. DLP, we voting DLP. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going with DLP. DLP for all of me. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, family of the Democratic Labour Party, good night. I'm here tonight to give my fullest support to Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. I met Ronnie only about 3 months ago, but I had heard a lot about him. And after meeting him, I am convinced that he is someone that cares about people. He is someone who is prepared to do things and put systems in place, especially for the young people, so that they can advance and reach their potential. Ronnie came to me and he sat down and he outlined a lot of projects and thinkings for this constituency. Now, I have a small business in this area, and on a daily basis, I hear all the different concerns that you, the residents of this area, raise with me. I listen, and where I can comment, I comment, but where there is genuine concern, I pass it on to Ronnie, and Ronnie have been going about diligently trying to make the situations better. But ladies and gentlemen, representation is what all the members of this Democratic Labour Party provide, proper representation. But on the other side, what we find is that all the members on that side just give talk, lack of representation. I can speak about it because in St. Joseph, we have someone up there who have absolutely no interest in representing the constituency of St. Joseph. But I and the residents and the constituents of St. Joseph have a plan. And within that plan, I, Randall the Costa Rouse, is going to rouse that marshal out of that constituency. On January the 19th, I can assure you that the thinking that is going on now will push me to the victory poll on January the 19th. But ladies and gentlemen, when we look at what is happening in this campaign, each and every constituency that you go in, you're seeing the Barbados Labour Party candidate, one poster, and 3 and 4 of Mayor Montley's picture. Now, that tells me something. That tells me that the members, the candidates of the Barbados Labour Party do not feel comfortable in themselves. And they're trying to give the impression that they have this great leader and that all of them are behind this great leader. But we know that that is not so. We know that there's dissatisfaction within that party. We know that there are persons in there who believe that she should not be prime minister. We know that she goes into all the ministries, make decisions without telling the ministers, and when the ministers have to answer questions, they don't know what to say. So we are not fooling ourselves. We know there is a crisis within the Barbados Labour Party. But within the Democratic Labour Party, there is unity. We are standing behind Verla De Peiza, and we know the quality person that she is. She is not bossy, but she is very assertive. She is not the type of person who believes that she should have her own way, and when she don't have her own way, she can pull down and mash up. She is a lady. And ladies and gentlemen, I believe that if given the chance, she will turn out to be one of the better prime ministers in the Caribbean. And I say that because her intellect is very, very sound. She cares about people. She shares her ideas, and she accepts advice from all the candidates within the Democratic Labour Party. But they will try to give you the impression that there's this infighting. Well, since I have been selected as a candidate for this election, I have not seen any negative moves, no negative comments in relation to her from the other candidates. But what I find is that all the candidates at this point in time and before this election date was announced are unified and helping each other to reach the potential that I know we all will reach. But ladies and gentlemen, our Prime Minister told us, give she the vote and watch me. And you did give her the vote. And we are watching her. But I'm sure that what you're seeing coming from her, you're not appreciative of it. I'm sure that the hardship that you have been reaching since this administration came into power, that you do not appreciate it. Now, I'm sure that all persons who own a home or run a home can testify of the hardship they have when it comes to their utilities, especially water. And when you have a situation where you have your water bill, which usually was between $35 to $45, and now you have to look for $78 to $80 when the month comes, I am sure that you, the persons who are working for a minimum wage, is finding it very hard. But we in the Democratic Labour Party have decided that we will do something of that situation when we are elected on January the 19th, 2022. I am from a rural constituency. And we keep hearing about all this money that China is lending Barbados to do works in the Scotland district. Now, let me just admit that once I used to see, or I believe, that Trinidad was our greatest threat. And I used to feel that way because of the large amount of investment that Trinidad businesses have in all the major businesses in Barbados. But I do not share that view anymore. I do not share that view because at this point in time, I have to view China as our biggest threat. And why I say that is that because we see China pumping money into these Caribbean islands, Barbados, Trinidad, Dominica, Jamaica, Guyana. And I believe that that is being done so that when there is international, you have to vote on the international stage, that they expect us to vote along the lines that they are. But in relation to Barbados, what I find is that China continue to offer grants to Barbados, and every time they offer a grant, they give us a large loan. And none of these large loans are not going into the productive sector. So if these loans are not going into the productive sector, and they have a 4-year grace period, at the end of the 4 years, at the end of the grace period, where are we going to get the revenue to repay these loans? And we all know that there's a history of China dealing, especially with African countries, when they cannot repay their debt. And I certainly do not want to see that happening in Barbados. But we can also remember that there was a lot of boasting about the houses that was coming from China. And we were actually told that by the end of December, all of these houses would be erected. I am now hearing that there's only one house that is near completion. And we are not hearing about all the other houses, but we are hearing that there's this Chinese company that is proposing to set operations in Barbados and extend the services to other Caribbean islands. Now, I would say, I have been in construction, working in construction for a long time. And I know some of the challenges that persons that working in construction face. I know that small businesses who are in the construction industry do not have the wherewithal at times. But I also know that one of the ways that government can help is to provide some of the contract work for small businesses, small construction businesses. But when you're going to come now and bring in, offer all the small work, the small builders work, to companies that are coming into Barbados, especially this Chinese company that we are hearing about, what is going to happen to the small construction firms in this island, who, at this point in time, as two of them told me, have absolutely nothing on paper. So I would just like to say that she told us to give her the vote and watch her. I want us to send a clear signal to her that we watch her. And we do not like what we see. I would like us to send a signal to her that it is time for the Democratic Labour Party to take back the reins of government in Barbados and look after the persons that are needy, the persons that are really reaching out to advance themselves. I would like us to say to Mayor Motley that yes, and we have got to give credit where credit due, you might have intellect, but you're using it the wrong way. When you believe that only you can have a say, when you believe that everything that you say must go, or you intend to, or you will destroy, that is not the way that we in Barbados like things. We don't operate that way. That is not who we are. But let me just say that we have some candidates who are at this point in time ready to go, ready to serve, and ready to protect the interests of this country. And I'll say to you that if given the chance on January the 19th, 2022, this young group within the Democratic Labour Party, and I say a young group, maybe I should exclude myself because at 65 I can't consider myself young. But we have a grouping of young persons who are very, very articulate, they're very educated, they're very eager to advance Barbados. And if given the chance, I know that this thing is the thing for the time. We hear the Barbados Labour Party keep harping that we ain't got the economic persons on our team, so what's gonna happen? I wonder if you out there really listen to a 26-year-old gentleman when he was speaking on radio and being challenged by someone who they believe is an economic guru. Now, I would say that if we really understand that age do not really mean that you're better, what we must understand that if you have the knowledge, no matter how old you are or how young you are, and you have the know-all as to how to reach a particular point, and you go about it in the correct way, I am saying to you that you will really be successful. And we have a young man who persons are, at this point in time, gravitating towards. And I'm speaking about our candidate for the city. Here is a young man who can, at 26 years old, can stand tall among the muscles and all the gurus that this administration have, and make them sort of back from positions that they want to say are the correct positions. But we all know, and we all must appreciate, that the Democratic Labour Party is not a fly-by-night political party. That the Democratic Labour Party have within its ranks the educated grouping who are at this point in time, working very close with the young people within the party, and the experience that they have, they're sharing with the young persons, and they are fully supportive of the leadership of this party. So when they try to give you the impression that there is this infighting among the younger grouping and the older grouping, nonsense. It is something that I have not experienced within the Democratic Labour Party. And I'm sure that when the time is right, which is January the 19th, 2022, and you go to the polls, I am sure that that support which you have there in your bosom for the Democratic Labour Party will be fully expressed. So in this constituency, I'm asking you to give your fullest support, give your votes to Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, a good man, a man who cares about you and this constituency, a man who, if given the opportunity, will transform this constituency into the type of constituency that you'll be proud to say that you come from. I, in turn, would go into St. Joseph, and I will do my best to make certain that I roast that marshal from in that constituency. And every Democratic Labour Party candidate, I am sure, is on the verge to victory. Don't mind what they try to give you. Don't mind what they try to tell you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, I plead with you, go to the polls on January the 19th, 2022, and give this Democratic Labour Party the support and votes so that we can form the next government of this country and look after the welfare of this country. I thank you.
DLP, we voting DLP. DLP, we voting DLP. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going with DLP.
Can you feel the excitement? The speakers are ready. We have come to bring information to you tonight, St. James. And I think you need to listen and hear how the Democratic Labour Party is looking after one Barbados. I stand here tonight knowing that you are being disadvantaged by the current administration, knowing that one post office at the West Terrace complex has been closed and plans are afoot. We have heard of the plans to close the one in Whole Town. Does that sound like a caring government? Does that sound like people who care about you and want you to have better? Think of the old people who now have to trek to town or somewhere else to clear their pension checks. You need to think about who you vote for. So as I introduce our next speaker to you, he is a young man. He continues the energy. I personally call him the trouble from the east because you got a little bit of the trouble just now and you're getting a little bit more. We are going to welcome tonight a young man representing St. Andrew, a young man that on the 20th of December will be sworn in as the next member of Parliament for St. Andrew because the members in the Barbados Labour Party are shaking. He goes every step out on the ground in St. Andrew. It is time for you to welcome Alwyn Skeete to the stage. Listen and hear, learn from this man. Good night.
DLP, we voting DLP. DLP, we voting DLP. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going with DLP. DLP for all of me. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going with DLP. DLP for all of me. We got the plan to save this nation. Together we stand with the Democratic Labour Party. One Barbados, united as a must.
I want to say a special good evening to the residents of Holders Hill, those in the surrounding Haynesville, Hoyts Village, and those of you joining us online and whatever platform you're using, and indeed all those who are within the hearing of my voice. I stand here before you this evening not only as a candidate in the upcoming general elections under the auspices of the Democratic Labour Party, but as a comrade in arms to support the candidature of Dr. Ronnie Yearwood in the constituency of St. James South, Comrade Paul Gibson in St. James Central, and Comrade Charles Worrell in St. James North. And indeed, extending outwards to all candidates of the Democratic Labour Party. This evening, we gathered here in hope in hearing a message that will resonate with the people not only of these surrounding areas of Holders Hill and Hoyts Village, and indeed the constituency of St. James South, but indeed those of wider Barbados who tune in to us each and every night to gather some kind of information that will take the people of Barbados forward, and not just forward, but forward in a meaningful but sustainable way. It is okay to come on this stage and be critical, because it's easy to criticize, but it takes foresight and insight to lead the people of Barbados. And if indeed we are coming here to be asking people to support us on a political journey, we need to guide the people of Barbados on the political journey that we are taking. And I took it upon myself from the outset of this political journey, because this is my first time on a political journey. But I took the political journey because I was always a community-minded person and will always be a people-centered person. Come hell or high water, that is my purpose in life, to do right by the people who I seek to represent at any turn. And it is incumbent upon each and every one who seeks office in this country, whether political or otherwise, to go out there each and every day and earnestly look after the affairs and the concerns of those who are entrusted upon. And I say this to you tonight because as I traverse the constituency of St. Andrew, and indeed wider Barbados, many people across this country are dissatisfied. In many sectors, people show grave concern, and also some are disgruntled. And the fact of the matter is, there are things that burden them each and every day, none more so than the cost of living in this country. And ever since the third quarter of 2018, we have been seeing the rise in inflation in this country. And quarter by quarter by quarter, the pressure has been mounting on the people of Barbados. It has also been compounded by the current pandemic, but we cannot let the pandemic be used as an excuse. Yes, the pandemic has caused increased hardship, but people of this country were feeling hardship before. Yes, we were always in trying times, and yes, there will always be trying times, but when our backs are against the wall, it is then that we must become creative. It is then that we must let our creative juices flow to craft policies and initiatives that will help improve the lives and the livelihood of our people, so that to ease the plight and the burden of those very same people who entrust on us and repose their confidence to lead them in a meaningful way. And tonight, one of the things I want to enlighten you on is one small measure that can ease the plight of people in this country when it comes to cost of living. It doesn't take rocket science. All it takes is proper implementation and planning, and the people of Barbados can execute. And the reason why I have the feeling and the confidence that the people in Barbados can execute is because the people of Barbados has done it before. And where you have gone before, we have the experience. All the people need is for those who are tasked with leadership to give them the enabling environment that they can pursue their goals and their ideals to bring meaningful and satisfactory changes to the lives of themselves, their children, and their children's children within this country, Barbados. We have a situation where the agricultural sector of this country is not performing to optimal levels. And it is not that the farmers in this country, whether poultry or animal or vegetable or even fruit, cannot produce the quality and the standard of product that we can use. It is just that the farmers need more support. If we take 1/5 of the budget that we put into tourism, along with the current budget in agriculture, this economy of Barbados, I am putting it to you tonight, can be transformed in a meaningful way. Because one of the first things that we'll be doing is saving the much desired foreign exchange that this country needs. Because every time we seek to import goods that can be produced right here in Barbados, and not just produced right here in Barbados, but the produce that we produce right here are of a higher standard and a higher qualities than the ones we import. We have a situation where we are known as the amputation capital of the world. And this is a title that we, the people of Barbados, must desist from having in our country. And one of the ways we can combat this is reducing the cases of chronic non-communicable diseases by having quality products grown right here in Barbados, provided on the meals for the people of Barbados, so that we can have a balanced and healthy diet, therefore producing more productive and energetic citizens to go out there in this country and do honest and meaningful work. Agriculture would indeed spur agribusiness, and agribusiness would indeed spur manufacturing. We have a situation where there are people out there who have niche markets. They've had brilliant ideas, and when they go to the entities to provide support, whether financial or technical or otherwise, they're turned around because of bureaucracy or because they don't have political affiliation. And I say in a democratic Barbados, in a 21st century society, we cannot afford to be doing this to our people. When our people come to us with good, sound business plans and brilliant ideas, we must look and pay close attention to helping those people get sound advice and put those same plans into place. Implementation is a problem within this country, and the people in this country are suffering from lack of implementation. It does not mean, therefore, that if we give these same people the technical support, because they're brilliant people working within the Ministry of Agriculture, there are some who are frustrated to the point that they're willing to leave that very same ministry because those tasked with responsibility are not adhering to the calls and the cries of people who come to those for support. But given the opportunity, a Democratic Labour Party administration would provide a comprehensive and revitalization plan for the Ministry of Agriculture and move the agricultural sector in Barbados forward. Too much land in this country is lying dormant. Too much land in this country that has produced significant produce for Barbados. Things that we can export of high standard and high quality are just lying in ruin, growing bush and harboring vermin across this country. And I say to you tonight, we must no longer let this situation obtain within our country. We have a situation where the high cost of fuel is impacting the distribution and the transportation sector across this country. And indeed, distribution plays a major part in the cost of living as well. Because we need to move goods and services across this country to be effective. And we need to move them in a way that can provide ease of doing business. But when you look at the impact of the fuel bill on the transportation sector in this country and the distribution sector, it leaves much to be desired. And on top of the transportation sector, you have a situation where the heavy maintenance costs borne on the people because of the poor infrastructure that we have is also burdening those same very people. And the first thing we must look at is the amount of taxes we have on the fuel in Barbados. Because several countries across the Caribbean import fuel from the same countries that we're getting it from. But their cost at the fuel pump is significantly lower than ours. And we have to look at ways in which we can lower the cost for our people. Not just telling people in Barbados to drive less. Because I heard the Minister of Energy telling people a solution to lower their energy costs is to drive less. Now, pray tell me, Barbados has about 40% of its workforce working within, either indirectly or directly, within the service sector and the tourism sector. People from St. Lucie work in Christchurch, work in St. Philip, work in St. Michael, work in St. John. How on earth are they going to get from that rural parish into that other side of the country? The other St. Philip is not going to come to St. Lucie, so the people have to travel. Find meaningful ways and solutions for the people. Or on January the 19th, let the people know that you're vacating office and let somebody who can do the job come and rescue the people. We have a situation where 75% on the tax on fuel in Barbados is excise tax. Then on top of that, we have a cess tax. And on top of that, we increase fuel at the pump by 40 cents a litre. A caring and thought-provoking government will reduce that cost at the pump so as to bring ease to those who are in the transportation sector and those in the distribution sector. And indeed, this will be down to the benefit of those retailers, and then that benefit can be passed on to you, the consumer of this country. I say to you tonight, give the Democratic Labour Party candidate in your area their support so that you, the people of Barbados, can entrust a government that will look after your future, look after the interests of the people, and make sure that your lives are improved on a daily basis. And we're not giving you highfalutin promises that are unattainable, because we heard of all kinds of fancy promises in the past. We heard that all the gas station workers would get raincoats and water boots. We heard about the flat roofs being changed. We heard about all the toilet pits being eradicated. We heard about the water woes being eradicated. But up until this very day, those promises have not been kept. And those same persons who came to you and delivered those promises are telling you that they delivered. But I'm asking you tonight, what did they deliver to you? The only thing that you have been delivered from them is the fact that you have received more hardship and more pain. And I'm saying to you tonight, give the Democratic Labour Party the opportunity to ease your pain. We have the economic pills to provide ease within this economy in Barbados. We are going to do it day by day, step by step, year by year, and improve the lives of our people. I want to say to you that there are situations obtaining within the St. Andrew area, and at the height of this electoral process, given the situation where those people at the St. Thomas Post Office, because St. Andrew's Post Office is in St. Thomas, and there's a state of play right now that there are only 3 members of staff working the constituency of St. Andrew, believe it or not. And as I've been hearing, one of the very same workers are on leave. So can you imagine a constituency that has over 9,000 people, and all those circulars from both sides, or 3 sides I think, because there are 3 candidates in the race, has to be distributed by those same postmen and women. And yet still, we are telling people in this country that we care. The postmen and women need the burden eased. They need staff at those institutions to help relieve the persons of the burden that they face. If you look around the country right now, you see postmen working all up to midnight trying to get things done in this country. It is a burden to them, but they're doing it for you, the people of Barbados, because they are the ones who care. Not the administration that is in charge of your affairs. The people out there, the civil servants. For instance, you take the plight of the nurses of this country, standing up for their very own rights, but not one single member of parliament, not one single cabinet minister will say to the nurses, I understand your plight, I feel your pain, we will listen to you, adhere to your calls, and bring solution to your problems. Up until this very day, the nurses had to strike again for their own rights. The nurses are not infringing on anybody's rights, get this straight. The nurses are standing up for what they know and believe in. And the nurses need to be given a listening ear, and their concerns must be addressed. We have to understand that we are not operating in the 60s and the 70s. With the onset of the technology that surrounds us, we have to be careful what we say and do that will resonate in the international arena. And it's all well and good to go out in the international world and grandstand, but we have to face the realities that are happening right here within our very own country. We have to look after the interests of our people right here. Because if you go out there and you portray one image and come back to Barbados and the people are feeling dissatisfied and dismayed, it means to the people of Barbados that your morning and your evening words are not adding up. And that, my friends, is not good enough and is not satisfactory for our people. But I say to you tonight, better must come, and better will come. Elect Oldwin Skeete in St. Andrew, elect Ronnie Yearwood in St. James South, elect Paul Gibson in St. James Central, elect Charles Burl in St. James North, elect the Democratic Labour Party across Barbados, come January 19th from 6 in the morning until 6 in the evening. And after January 20th, we will take this country, Barbados, forward in a meaningful way to uplift the lives and the livelihood of all citizens so that we can continue the work started by our great forefather, Ever Walton Barrow, and continue along the line to please all and sundry. Whether you're poor, whether you're indigent, whether you're differently able, whether you're rich, whether you're in the middle class, we will look after your very interests. May God bless you. May God keep you. May his face shine upon you and give you peace, now and forevermore. One constituency, one people, one Barbados. Good night, and may God bless you.
To save this nation, together we stand with the Democratic Labour Party. One Barbados, united as a must.
Are you feeling it? I am feeling the energy. I am feeling the power. I am saying to you, people of Barbados, people of St. James, St. Thomas, St. Andrew, all of you Barbadians, we are ready. You are hearing the talent waiting to take office. You are hearing the people who will guide and shepherd this country forward. And young men like Alwyn are the beginning. But you also need to remember how you have suffered under the current administration. They have not had your back. These are the people who said the taxes were too high. But every month you now must pay a water bill that is 3 times as high as what they found when they came into office. They do not care. Instead, I say to you, say no more to the $1 billion in collections of taxes on your water. Say no more. Instead, look to policies, look to programs from this DLP administration, because we will be in government on the 20th. And we will bring to you more leaders of this party to show you how you are going to do it. Again, we will keep the introduction short. I am bringing to you a man who is going to lead the people of St. James Central forward. He is a thinker. He is a worker. He is a doer.
I want you to support with all your might Paul Gibson as he comes up here tonight to give you the message from the Democratic Labour Party. He is here to represent you, St. James. Paul, I call you up to this stage. Come tonight and give them the word.
St. James Central! If you want people over politics, then Paul is the man. Paul is the man. If you want visionary leadership, then Paul is the man. Paul is the man. If you want a godly representative, Paul is the man.
Good night, Democratic Labour Party. Good night, Barbados. Good night, St. James Central. Good night, St. James South. Welcome to our neighborhood. Yes, it is so wonderful to be here tonight and see so many of you here representing. It is good to have members of my team here, members of the constituency. I'm right next door here. I'm actually looking at my constituency. Quite nice, actually. And some amazing people I've met over the last couple years moving around in the constituency. And you know what? I have been taking time to listen to what they're saying. I've been taking time to note the brilliant ideas coming out of St. James Central. I've canvassed with Dr. Ronnie Yearwood in his constituency because we are brothers in this together. And we have been listening to the voices of Barbadians. And one thing that we're seeing and one thing that we're hearing consistently, especially from the young people, is that they want work. They want jobs. They want the ability to advance themselves and to push their families forward, because families are important to Barbadians. You know, the name of my campaign is Bring Back the Heart. It's called Bring Back the Heart. It's in all of our shirts. And to bring back the love of the community. Because we realize from moving around and from talking to persons in St. James Central, St. James South, and up and down across the length and breadth of Barbados, that people are very concerned about how we as Barbadians are treating each other. You see, when we are speaking to each other, there must be caring and gentility. There must be thoughtfulness of the other person. It's not all about me. And a country is made up of a collective of families. And if you get every family and every unit right, then your country would be right. You get me? If you get every single family functioning the way they're supposed to function, even when they interact with other families, you would find that we would have a society that is wholesome, that is loving, that is together, where we practice one anotherness, I call it, where we take care of each other. And this is one of the things I'm observing in our community. When you have people driving at 2 and 3 in the morning, even though there's a curfew playing the loudest music ever, it can't be thinking about the community. When your mother has Alzheimer's and you finally get her settled in your house because, as you know, Alzheimer's is a long goodbye. And you finally get the baby settled. And somebody passes with a muffler that is ranked up and jacked up to the point where it just startles the baby and wakes him up. That is not community. That's not thinking about one another. That's thinking about self. And the question is really, what is the benefit of that? What is the benefit of that? And then, you know what is unfortunate? I have been seeing the same type of behavior coming out of the Barbados Labour Party, where they really have been thinking about themselves. They really have not been thinking about the experiences, about the feelings that Barbadians are experiencing as they go through these very tough and draconian economic times. And if they were to, for 1 minute, stop to think about it, if they were to 1 minute stop to think about it, maybe while they're in governance, they may do more to help the masses. And what do I mean by that? They would, as opposed to just finding jobs for people, very menial jobs for people, they would look at the long-term future of Barbados in terms of investment, in terms of development of new industries, in terms of health tourism, in terms of bringing back more offshore banks where you have multi-tiered, multiple levels of employment. They would think of the Constitution and allow us to be a part of that. That is what running a country is all about. Hearing about the community, hearing what's important to the community, and responding to that. I'll tell you something. I am listening to the persons living in Sandy Lane and Sunset Crest as well. And you know what? You may be surprised. They have the same issues. Because they said to me, look, we had a post office and a court and a police station in Whole Town. And you know what? Mia and her team, without consultation, without conversation, without interaction, decided that she was going to sell that piece of property and put condominiums there. Now think about that. Everybody in the world knows that Jamestown is one of the first places that people landed in Barbados. A tremendous historic site. And you know what they did? They gave it to somebody to build condominiums. Now, I don't have to tell you that people in Sandy Lane and Sunset Crest are vexed. Because they realize, that, you know, ask a question, man. Talk to the people. And this is what is not happening. This is the way and the practice of the Barbados Labour Party. But I'm here to say tonight that the Democratic Labour Party is listening. This is why I started by saying the Democratic Labour Party is listening. If you read our manifesto, if you look at our policies, you will see that we have been listening. I want to go a step further. We are hearing now, when you go all the way through Paynes Bay and Fitzvillage and Prospect, when you go all the way up to Seaview and so on, the people are complaining. You know what they're saying to me? They say, Mr. Gibson, Mr. Paul Gibson, do you know that for the last 3 years and almost 4 years, because in 4 months it'll be 4 years since the Barbados Labour Party has been in office, if they were here before, but I think they'll be gone. But they said if there were another 4 months, they would have been in for 1 year. And the representative has been asked for almost 10 years to deal with the roads in Olive Lodge. For 10 years or more to deal with the roads in Wrist Road, in the meadows just up the road here, in Seaview. And they kept asking, they said, look, sir, the front shocks are being destroyed. The dust is killing us in the house because of all the potholes. I've had to replace my front ends on numerous occasions over the last 3 to 4 years because the road needs doing. Sir, please, give us some natural gas. But you know, for almost 4 years, for almost 10 years, there was no response to the call of the people of Wrist Road and Seaview and Meadows and Olive Lodge. Despicable, completely despicable. You know why the representative, the incumbent, started to do work up there? Let me tell you why. I shamed him. And I'm not afraid to say that. I shamed him. I'll tell you what I did. I made a video of all the roads, which for the last 4 years he did not fix. And say, listen to me. These people in St. James Central require active representation. Repeat after me. Active representation. And you are not giving it. And I'm calling on you to immediately address the issues. Because it is not good enough that people are spending money, can't afford to buy food in the supermarket, can't afford the gasoline, cannot afford to pay the light bill, cannot afford to pay the internet, and still they're going to be buying busting tires and repairing front ends in West Road. So I shamed them. I said, no, you say that you want the vote. You say you want to represent them, but you're not. You're not. Up and down the length and breadth of St. James Central, he's not representing them. And after I did that, 5 days before an election, 5 days, ladies and gentlemen, it is disgusting. 5 days before an election, the roads are being scraped. The tar McClellan is being poured. And you know what I did? I made another video. I said, I have called for the repair of these roads on your behalf as the representative for St. James Central of the Democratic Labour Party. And I have asked, and I have asked, and I have asked, and I'm here to tell you today that the call has been answered. And let me tell you something. The people start to applaud. They say, thank you, Paul Gibson, for poking him, for bringing him out of the hole finally, because he's only come out here when it's time to vote. That is what the people are saying. They have had enough of the nonsense. You need to be working for people when they elect you. You need to be working for people when they give you the vote. And that is not what has been happening for the last 10 years. And then they can complain about all sorts of nonsense where they are not representing the people of Barbados actively. The people of Prospect, of Crusherside Road, of Seaview, Greenwich, of West Road, they are important. These people are important. They're not tools to be pushed and pulled according to a political timetable. All year long, the roads smash up, and you're going to wait 5 days before an election and have this happening? No. Disgusting. That is not active representation. For the short time that I've been in Redmond's Village, I realized that they had issues with water. The water was not flowing up to the end of the road. And I had repeated meetings, conversations with Kenneth Halliday, explaining to him what was going on and the fact that nurses and police would come home from work dirty and could not shower because there was no water. And I said, in a modern Barbados, it makes no sense when people have been taking their toilets from the yard, putting them in a closet in the house, in a water closet. It makes no sense putting black tanks on the road so that people go and catch water. I said to him, that is backward. And I explained to him that when you could have walked out into the bathroom in the yard and sit on it and do what you had to do and go back inside, no, you have the bathroom, you have to go, get a bucket, go to the water tank, fill it up, walk back to the house, walk through the house, open the bathroom door, lift off the top of the toilet, pour the bucket into the back of the toilet, and flush. In 2022. Doesn't it sound a little backward to you? Doesn't it sound a little backward to you? In other words, what I'm saying is, there's nothing wrong with having an outside toilet if you can't afford it. There's nothing, because you're doing what you have to do. But in 2021, when people are spending their money to lift their families up, to strengthen their families, and to move things up, it can't be that you cannot provide water for people in Redmond's Village. And I'm talking about dirty water coming in, you know. The water, the pressure is so low, and they're right in the middle of the street. There are 3 or 4 main lines going up the road to Sandy Lane and these other places. Full of water, pure clean water, and Redmond Village is being passed by. I, Paul Gibson, had to actively work on that with Kenneth Halliday. And I'm happy to say tonight that we began to have the water pressure increase and the quality of the water addressed because of conversations, because of my representation of the persons in Redmond's Village. And I want to clap them for their patience. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Clap the people in Redmond Village. You deserve applause because of their patience and long suffering. Now, the same thing is happening in Seaview, and I will address that. I will go to that and deal with that matter at some point in time. But I'm doing one thing at a time. I'm not the representative yet. I'm not the representative yet. But when that comes, I will make sure that the people are adequately represented. There were issues on the main road here with access to the beach, where everyone now is pushing their back wall into the water. And that water is slamming the walls, destroying the walls, and then the beach becomes very rocky and inaccessible because of how far out it is. I like to say that Gabby was asked to leave a beach last week because he was still continuing to protest that beach is mine. And these are the things that people are not aware of happening on the West Coast. As a matter of fact, the representative is not aware of it. And it is unfortunate that the people of Paynes Bay are aware of what is happening and he doesn't have a clue. And their issues and rights are being denied in terms of fishing and access, and he is not representing them. They just reopened the Paynes Bay fish market, and ladies and gentlemen, they did not reopen the toilets down there. Can you imagine that? Further up the road, there's a set of toilets that are being used for NCC workers only. Now, these are toilets that are for Barbadians, you know, and the toilets are locked. I'm saying to you, good, active representation would be aware of such occurrences and try to address them. And I'm saying to you, the Democratic Labour Party is interested in ensuring that this is what Barbadians are getting. Service. I keep saying the word minister literally means servant. I want us to get back to the days when ministers serve. I want us to get back to the days when ministers serve the people, because we are their representatives and we must respect them. We must respect the people. The voice of the people is the voice of God, it is said. And in a country like Barbados, this is even more necessary than ever before, because the rights of persons are being violated. Constitutions are being created without consultation. And I could go on and on and on. If you ask any high court judge in Barbados if they have seen the laws that were written for the constitutions over which they have to adjudicate, most of them will say, no, I have not seen the new constitution. Isn't that an abject shame? You see, we have to be careful that we don't tolerate things that would cause us to eventually slip down a slippery slope, a slope which we may not be able to get back up. And this is why this election is so important. This particular election is a stake in the ground for Barbadians. This election is important. It is not about party anymore, it's about your rights, and your rights not being violated or to be continue to be violated. It is about your family. This particular election is about your family. Everybody here knows that your family is important to you, yes? Your babies are important. And the level of taxes, the level of stress and heaviness that is being placed on Barbadians, on the necks of Barbadians, is tremendous concern to me. And if it is just for your family, this vote is important. For your family, we have to ensure that we do the right thing and bring balance back to Barbados. We have to ensure that our healthcare system is put back where the Democratic Labour Party left it, which was in a much better position. You can imagine waiting 36 to 48 hours to see a doctor in the accident and emergency department? You know how many mothers and fathers and children have been lost because of that? The thing is, it can be corrected. It can be addressed. Why am I saying that? Because you would go to one of the fast private institutions in Barbados, namely, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to call the names, the ones that are commonly seen, the Sandy Cresses and FMHs of this world. And in 1 hour or less, you were in, you're out, and you pay your money. Right or wrong? You're in, you're out, you pay your money, you go back home. You can imagine what it is to sit in a hospital for 36 to 48 hours to come in front of a doctor before you could even get a Panadol or an injection or an antibiotic. Can you imagine? And they blame COVID. It is not COVID, because I just said that you can go to FMH and Sandy Crest and get your ass. So something is wrong. According to the Chinese man, something is wrong. That's what he said. And I'm telling you something wrong. It has to be addressed in all seriousness. You can imagine that an accident emergency was just built. And just as it had finished, there was so much water coming through the roof as soon as it was finished. And last week, they had the same problem up until today. You can tell me that something ain't wrong? Something wrong. Something wrong. No, I'm telling you. And I can tell you, I bet you that the person that built that institution paid for it. Was paid for it. But you still have to put down the bed sheets that you paid for as taxpayers on the ground to suck up the water that came through the roof. You understand what I'm saying to you? There is a problem. And I'm telling you, the Barbados Labour Party does not take things to their furthest logical, intellectual end. They always have to do what? On it do. According to everybody knows what that word means. They push up the bus fare to $5 and everybody say, no, no, no. You know what they do? They on it do. I could go on and on about the things that they started and pull back. Mandatory vaccines. No, they on it do. Because they didn't give it the ticket to its furthest logical end. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to have better governance and better leadership. The Democratic Labour Party has always been about building the most houses, which we've done. If you get a dozen houses out of the Barbados Labour Party, you get a lot. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? If you get a dozen houses, you get a lot. We build scores and scores and scores of houses. If we did not build the best of Santos Lab, you can imagine what would happen if you had COVID? That was the Democratic Labour Party's building. Right or wrong? All right, I hear you. The Blackman Gallop multipurpose facility, which was first used to manage the COVID situation, was built by the Democratic Labour Party. We started in Barbados to identify locations and to build desalination plants across the country. And when Mr. Abrahams got in, you know he did? He pull up a handbrake on desalination plants in Barbados. That doesn't make any sense. But now they're coming up to the election, boom, 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 bang, bang, bang. They just open back up the thing and push on the handbrake and try to get them done. Because of a what? A political timetable. A lot of what is being done now is done on a what? A political timetable. But we are Barbadians. We expect you to work for us from day one, week one, month one, and year one. Year one. Not because an election is coming and you want to impress somebody. So what am I saying to you, ladies and gentlemen? That it is time to press the reset button. The reset button needs to be pressed in our minds. We have to think of our families. I can tell you right now that in a particular part of Barbados, umbrellas and $50 bills were being given out today to try to woo the attention of people. And I've been telling them straight, listen, you can buy 2 little pigeons in the supermarket for that $50. You eat it, and then by day 3, it's gone. And you are back in the same position you were before you took the money. You are jobless. You cannot go to the supermarket. You cannot pay your water bill. You cannot pay your light bill. Because they did not provide you with a job. They did not create opportunities for you to advance. They did not think of your young people and the development of young people. The guys on the block, they didn't think about them. They didn't think about the little picnic that for 2 years have not had a good education because the mom could not pay the light bill and they could not get on the internet. What does a child like that do? Tell me, what does a child like that do? Are we going to leave them behind? Can you hear, you know how I know they're not listening? They're not hearing the frustrations of the mothers that are at home with children trying to get them to learn and to study and to stay focused. Frustrating the people. They have to take days off from work because they're working and they're stressed. And the bills are killing them because of the high taxation put on by the Barbados Labour Party. And many times they're unemployed because no new jobs has been created using the $2.6 billion that they borrowed. Because I get the impression they don't know what to do with the money. As a matter of fact, I get the impression that they don't know what to do. Don't you? I think it is that time. We have great persons working in the hospital, the nurses. Fantastic, hard-working, dedicated people. I'm surprised they didn't strike again because, to be honest with you, they really need to stand up for their rights. I don't have a problem with that. When you have a nurse getting 3 pairs of gloves in a week in a COVID pandemic, when you have a nurse with rodents running around a geriatric hospital, which is supposed to be clean, and not being given attention, and they're all saying, look, give us some attention, we want this sorted out. The reason why the cricketers didn't go to South Africa and play was not because the rest of the world had apartheid, but they didn't agree with apartheid in South Africa. So they pulled their economics, they pulled their sports, they pulled anything they can pull to send a message. That is wrong. And so what is wrong with a nurse saying, this is wrong? And all of us who have a conscience joining with them and saying, that is wrong. And joining with them to send a message that we will not accept in a COVID pandemic, nurses getting 3 pairs of gloves to last them a week. Or rodents running around in the house. We cannot accept that. Because the people that work the hardest and give the best years of their lives to raise us as young people, to build our industries, to cut the cane and to build the roads, are in those institutions. We cannot abandon them. We will not abandon the old people. We will not. And the nurses are saying, no, they deserve better. And don't let me talk about cutting pensions now. I'm not going to go there. I can let one of my more competent people deal with that. Huh? What is going on in this place? Nobody thinks about anybody. And one man got $12.5 million if that deal had gone through with the vaccines. $12.5 million to one man if that vaccine deal had gone through. Come on, man. Come on. I want Barbadians to wake up. This is about waking up Barbadians about what is happening in this country. We are responsible for our people. Every Democratic Labour Party member has a child in one corner to see and an old person in the other one because we remember the most vulnerable. And I will say this here. People don't know this, and I'm going to take this opportunity to explain it. When the Democratic Labour Party chose to allow persons to pay at university for university education. There was a reason for it, but nobody said what it was. But I'm going to tell you what it was tonight, because it's important that you can hear, because we take things to the what? Furthest logical end. When you have a 17-year-old or a 19-year-old that cannot read in university, it is a problem. It speaks to the fundamentals being compromised. And a strategic, intellectual policy decision was made to shift the funds that are going to the University of West Indies to go to primary and junior care education. I don't know if you heard that before, but that was the actual rationale and thinking behind, because we realized that we are weak up here because we are weak down there. And so the aim was to get the curricula, the students, the faculty, the plant and everything ready to ensure that our youngsters or babies are getting the rudimentaries correct. That was what we did, because we realized that it was causing a problem further on in the university and the college system. But nobody told you that. They said, you take away the people university education. No, it was thought out and it was purpose-filled. There was a lot of intentionality involved in that. And so, as I land the plane tonight, in regards to this speech, I want to ask you to remember Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. Dr. Ronnie Yearwood is a man that understands education. Dr. Ronnie Yearwood is a man that spoke and has been fighting for the Constitution of Barbados and bringing our awareness and attention to what was going on. A horse, a cart, a horse going up a hill backwards. That is what that was. He brought attention to that. And I want to ask you, in a couple hours, we're going to have an election. In just a few hours, there's going to be an election. And I want you to be mindful of everything I shared with you tonight. And I want you to put your X beside the name Ronnie Yearwood. I want you to put your X beside the name Paul Gibson on the ballot for St. James Central. Put your name on the ballot for Paul Gibson. And I'm not giving you anything in a political timetable. I'm going to serve you from day one, week one, month one, and year one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and God bless you. May God bless the Democratic Labour Party, and may God bless Barbados. One Barbados. Good night.
Paul is the man. If you want visionary leadership, then Paul is the man. Paul is the man. If you want...
Boy, oh boy. Comrade Paul on fire tonight. You know, Comrade Paul touched fleetingly on the vaccine scandal. And our next speaker is a doctor, but he's a doctor of laws. But we had a situation where a construction magnate ordered vaccines in the sum of $24 million. The Minister of Health, to his credit, and like Pontius Pilate said, I wash my hands of that. I don't know nothing about that. But the permanent secretary in that ministry, she signed off on it. She had to have an instruction from somebody else, somebody bigger than the Minister of Health. I will say to you tonight, Democratic Labour Party family, if that permanent secretary acted on her own, she should be fired. And if she received the instructions from a minister, that minister should be fired or asked to resign. The Democratic Labour Party is asking the government of Barbados to have a commission of inquiry staffed by an independent commissioner or commissioners into that whole sordid, ugly, dirty red herring. We know if you take a red herring and put it in your cupboard for a couple of days, how it will smell. That situation with that radical drug scandal is one of those red herrings. That should be investigated, and the findings given to the Commissioner of Police or the Director of Public Prosecutions for their analyses. The Prime Minister can afford to say it's a red herring, but honest Barbadians know it is not. The only good thing about that whole sordid mess is that the people of Bahamas who were involved in that, they got a new leader. The people of St. Lucia who were involved in that scandal, they got a new leader. I say no more. Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the Democratic Labour Party, the next speaker, he said he's the most handsome candidate in the Democratic Labour Party's entourage. I say he's the tallest. This young gentleman and I share the same constituency border. He is in St. James South. I am in St. Michael North. So his south and my north meet. I bring to you a young man full of ability, full of intellectual charisma, full of wit sometimes. If persons had listened to Brass Tacks program last Sunday, Dr. Yearwood tied a certain senator in multiple knots. Not even a Boy Scout could get you unknotted after he finished with her. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Oh, and he made a certain lady player road tennis in high heel shoes. So he's quite famous. Put your hands together and welcome the next representative for St. James South, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood.
DLP, he voting DLP. DLP, he voting DLP. He going with DLP.
Good night, St. James South. Good night, Barbados. Good night, Democratic Labour Party family. How are you feeling? Ricky, thank you for that. I am the tallest, and I will also accept the accolade of probably being the best looking as well. Now, we're here to discuss some serious business, and as I've been saying on this campaign trail, this election is about policy. However, our opponents have sought to make this campaign also about characters and values and those kinds of things. And I've spoken to those issues as well. And I think it was a few nights ago, I wouldn't even mention their names because they're not worth mentioning. They talked about character. And I will say this out loud. Kerry Simmons and Liz Thompson are the two last people in Barbados that should talk about character and values in politics. And we can leave it there because there's nothing else worth saying about those two. Barbados is moving beyond that gutter politics. It is moving beyond that nasty politics. It is moving to a politics of intellectualism, analysis. It's moving towards a politics where we engage our people, where we respond to them, where we think about the things we say carefully, and where we talk about policy. But policy matters as much as character and values, because if you do not have character and you do not have values, the policies that you seek to implement will not work. Policies don't occur in abstract. They occur because you care about the people, and this party cares about you. We care about what will happen in St. James South. We care about what will happen in Barbados. And tonight I want to speak to you about the plans that we have for St. James South and the wider Barbados. But I also want to speak to you about why I am in politics, why I have come to public life and why I've come to serve, what it means to be here, and what it means for this party. Now, politics and politicians, the words these days are disgusted words. People do not want to see you, do not want to talk to you. Many of you hold those views and you hold them rightly. And I do not argue when I turn up at your doorsteps and you tell me you do not want to hear anything about politics or you do not want to see another politician. I understand where you are. I understand you're upset. I understand you're hurt. I've seen it.
I've felt it all throughout this constituency. Kids haven't been to school for 3 years. Pensioners lost their savings when the government tried to implement the bond program that didn't work. Then they went to implement the J-bonds program. Folks in Durance can't get title deeds to their land because the UDC has run out of money. Folks in Haynesville haven't got their title deeds yet. There are multiple problems across this constituency, whether it's roads, whether it's broken parts, broken dreams, broken promises. And you do not get the representation you deserve. It is that simple. You have a representative who does not understand you, who does not seek to serve you, whose hand is held, it seems, by every single member of parliament, because every time we're in a part of the constituency, they magically turn up, driving slowly, waving at us. It's almost like she doesn't have anything else to do. But we are here to serve you. And I made that solemn promise when I started this campaign. As we come to the end of this campaign, I want you to understand why I'm here. I am here because I feel like I'm called to service. I am called to duty. I am called to do right by my country that has given so much to me. And I want to give back to this country. That is the only reason any of us are here. And I said it last night, I think this party should be proud of the young candidates that we have put forward. We've come forward to serve. We are trying to do our best. This is a hard job. And we should be proud. We should be proud that there are young people willing to sacrifice their families and their lives and to give up to serve this country. And they should be applauded and they should be encouraged. And this party has a multiple set of talents in these young people. And I am proud to serve alongside them. I'm proud to call them my friends, my comrades, and part of the Democratic Labour Party family. I also want to speak to wider Barbados as well, to say that this Democratic Labour Party has a place in it for all of you. There is space in here for all Barbadians, black, white, Indian, women, men. Everyone is welcome in this family. Everyone is welcome in this family because we care about you, and the policies that we will talk about will reflect that we care, because values and character matter in politics. And I want you to know that. I want you to understand that we're here for you. I will hold my hand up and I will say we haven't always gotten everything right, but we've taken our lashes. We've gotten them, the ones that we've deserved, the ones we didn't deserve, but we've taken them. And we've been here with you. We've never left you. Steady on. We're still here, and we're still standing by you. This party of Barrow, come January the 19th, will be smiling because we will find our place back at the table in the House of Parliament, and we will be able to stand up and represent the views that you want us to. Now, this is not about my opponent. We're here to talk about what we will do for you. You understand the problems that we face in this country. You understand the things that this government has got wrong, multiple things it's got wrong, explained by Paul, explained by all the people on this platform. And we will not spend time discussing them. We're here to discuss you because this election, this campaign, it has to be about you. It's about you, and it's about what this party will do to uplift your lives, to empower you, to create a better country for you. This party gave Barbados political independence, and I think the next chapter is economic independence. The next chapter is to empower you so that you can make good decisions for your family and for your lives, because that is what good governance is about. It's not about handouts, it's about hand-ups. You need to be empowered to make these decisions. You shouldn't have to beg a politician to pay a bill. You shouldn't have to beg them for a bottle of gas. Those days must end, and you deserve a seat at the table. You shouldn't have to wait for crumbs to fall from the table to have a place. You deserve to sit at the table and share in the bounty that this country. You deserve to own this country and own this place because you have a rightful place to it. You're a citizen of this country, and it's no longer should the days be that your name and who you know determine what you get in this country. Hard work should be your reward, and hard work should be your reward because you deserve it. Now, in terms of the things that we're going to do for St. James South, I told many a spot meeting, I'm not here to make outlandish promises. I'm not going to promise you that the roads are going to be fixed tomorrow, that they're going to be paved with gold. I'm not even going to promise you that they're going to be fixed the day after or the day after. This is a long project, and I want you to join us. Today is just but a start. January the 19th is only the beginning. Is after that what we will do together in collaboration. We will walk side by side. And I know some of you are afraid. I understand that. I understand the victimization. The fear is real. I understand that. but I ask you to stand with me. And if you're afraid and you're weak, I will try to carry you. And if your lamp runs out of oil, you can borrow some from me, because that is what this party is about. This party has always been a family, and you're welcome to it. You're welcome to sit at the table and we can share and break bread together, because that is why it's called the Dear Loving Party. It is not an accident that the party is called the Dear Loving Party, because it is a party that cares. It's always cared. It's always been with you, even when you have not been with this party. This party never leaves Barbados. And I ask you today to recommit yourself. Come home, come home, come home, Democratic Liberal Party family. Rise and join us. Join us in this journey as we try to take back our country, as we try to get our rightful place at the table, to take ownership of who we are and to manifest our destiny. Often people will say, who are we? What are we about? I can tell you what we're about. We are about a party, and we are a party that cares about you. We are a party that wants to empower you. We are a party that wants to deliver on a vision for a new Barbados where there's equality, where our children have a quality education, where teachers are respected and given their due, where the civil service works from political interference, where resources are shared equally among communities, where the folks of this country can live out their lives in dignity. That is the elderly, the young people, everyone, because we have to bring dignity back into public life and politics. And I hope by my actions, and I hope by the actions of my younger colleagues, we're trying to do that. It is not easy, the road is long and hard, but I want you to stand with me. I want you to be with me, and I want you to put aside your fear. I know that's a big ask. I know I'm saying put aside your fear, but I'm asking you to do it, because that is the only way that we can take back this country, that we can take our rightful place. You have to stop being afraid, and you have to stand up. When you see wrong, call it wrong. There are going to be 6,000 people who can't vote, and there's silence almost in the country. Where is the uproar that your colleagues and your friends and your brothers and your sisters are disenfranchised? Our kids have not been to school for 3 years. Where is the uproar that they're not getting the education that they receive? The government tried to foist J-bonds upon you to basically turn your gratuity and your pensions into useless paper. Where is the uproar? Nothing. We need to stand up, and it's time that we find our righteous anger and we do something about it. We take our place in this country. And I challenge all of you, all the Democratic Labour Party family listen, all of Barbados listen, I challenge you to stand up and be counted. Let your voice be heard, not only in St. James South, but all across Barbados, because that is the only way that you would get the country that you deserve. And I ask you to vote for the future. I ask you to vote for optimism, because I know things seem dark now, but you have a chance. You have a chance to change, because you can be that voice for change. You can be that challenge for change. And at the end of it all, it has to be about you. That is the only reason that we're here. That is the only reason that this party can exist. This party exists to be a machinery to form a government to serve you, to serve the needs of the people of St. James South, to serve the needs of the people of Barbados. And what I want to talk to you now a little bit is about the policies that I intend to bring. As I said, I'm not here to make outlandish promises and promise you everything's going to be okay tomorrow. But some of the things that we want to do to make your life better, practical things, for example, like forming a St. James South task force so that we can coordinate and deal with issues in this community like broken wells, badly paved roads, uncut lots, street lights, things that should not be problems in 2022 in Barbados. Some of the other things that we're going to look at the expansion of our Wi-Fi program so that there's Wi-Fi across strategic points in St. James South, such as the community center behind us, because we want to ensure that our young people have access to technology and learning, because internet poverty is real in Barbados. Sometimes we don't think about it, but people do not have access to the internet and Wi-Fi, and that's affected their education. We've done one program in this community, and we will expand the rest of the programs. Some of the other projects that we're going to look at a bus service for our elderly. The reality is a country that does not care for its elderly is not a country. And the reality is this community has a lot of elderly folks, and we want to be able to provide a bus shuttle Monday, Wednesday, and say Fridays so that they can be able to go into Spikestown, Bridgetown, Holetown to conduct their business. One of the great atrocities foisted upon this community has been the closure of the post office. and no temporary post office erected. How do you close a post office in one of the largest constituencies in Barbados and not erect a temporary post office? A constituency filled of elderly and retired persons who need to be able to go to the post office to conduct their services. It is wrong, it is wrong, it is wrong, and we will seek to correct it. These are but some of the policies that we will ensure in this community. We will fix the green spaces to ensure that they're spaces that you can congregate. And one of the top priorities will be finding funding through donor networks to build a community center, a multi-purpose community center for this community with dance rooms, art studios, spaces for single mothers, spaces for mothers, places for the elderly. These are but some of the policies that we aim to implement in St. James South. Now, on a larger platform, in terms of the policies the Democratic Labour Party has for Barbados, you know we've talked about universal basic income. And the idea is to reform our welfare system, revolutionize it so that you have money in your pocket, so that you can make your best life decisions. We've talked about revolutionizing our educational system so that we can provide grants to people so that they can have first, second, and third chances. We've talked about giving grants to teachers so that they can modernize their homes and engage in online teaching. These are but some of the things that this party is committed to. And I want you to trust and believe me when I say that this party is here to change this country. This party is here to change this country for the better because this party cares about you. This party has always cared about you, and it will do so. Now, I want to come to a close, and I always do this. It's becoming a little hallmark of mine at my meetings. And it's to reflect on why I'm here. It is to reflect on the character of the person I am. And it's to let you know that politics is not a sport for me. Politics is serious business. We are only here to serve. We want to make this country better. I've told you the challenges the country faces. I've outlined some of the solutions that we have in mind. And I can only ask you to come with us. I can only ask that you journey with us. I can only ask that you put aside your fear, and that if you're afraid, that you can stand behind me and I will take the arrows for you. I can only ask that you join us in hope, that you let your light shine and you become the light bearers. And if your light is dim, we will give you some of our light, because that is what this party is about. And come January the 19th, I want you to go out and I want you to vote in your earnest numbers for the members of the Democratic Labour Party. I want you to vote for me because you believe that I can change this country. I want you to vote for me because you know that I am on your side. And I want you to vote for me because you know that I can be the best representative for St. James South. I want you to vote for me because you know I am the choice for change. I want you to vote for me because you know I care about your families and what will happen to you. And I want you to vote for me because at the end of the day, you know that I have this country and this constituency at heart. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for taking this time to be part of our journey. And I ask you to join, not necessarily this party, but I ask you to join this movement, because this is more than a party now. This is a movement for change. And I know the spirit is moving in this campaign. I've talked about it with my team, and I know that there's something over us. We're being protected, we're shielded, and I ask you to come into our tent. I ask you to stand with us because we will rise in glory. I ask you to stand with us because victory is on its way. I ask you to give us a chance to victory and walk in the sun with us, because I believe that better days are ahead. And that is the only reason that I am here. Better days must be ahead for you. Better days must be ahead for all of our families. Be with us, commune with us, and break bread with us. Come in this Democratic Labour family. Believe that you are somebody. Don't let anybody ever tell you you're nothing, because you are somebody. I believe you're somebody. I want you to be somebody, and I want you to sit at the table, not at the bottom of the feet. You will sit at the left and the right hand, and we will pursue a better Barbados, because we can build this country. I know it. I believe it. So come with us. Come January the 19th. Come vote Democratic Labour Party. Vote for me. Vote for change. Vote for your future. Thank you.
We got the plan to save this nation. Together we stand with the Democratic Labour Party. One Barbados.
Ronnie on fire. Ronnie on fire. Ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce the next speaker, I was told sometime this afternoon that the young man who is running for the other side in St. Michael North has said that he does not need to canvass to beat the Democratic Labour Party's candidate. All well and good. I also understand that the young man is a lay preacher, Christian. I have 3 questions for that young man who does not need to canvass to beat me. The first question is, what is his position on his party's removal of God from the Christian landscape of Barbados? Next question, as a Christian man, what is his position on same-sex unions? Third question for the young man. He has said that he does not want his children to be raised in St. Michael North, but he wants to be representative of the people of St. Michael North. What hypocrisy. Let him answer those 3 questions before he speaks about canvassing and not having to canvass. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to read from our beautiful document again with respect to tourism. We remember earlier last year, somebody created a slogan costing $775,000 and making us the laughing stock of the world. Somebody, I think that's Circus Energy, speaks about plagiarism. But if you plagiarize such foolishness, what next? Part of our mandate going forward as the new government with respect to tourism tells us that tourism will remain the primary driving force of our economy, but it is ripe for a rethink. We know that the process has been interrupted for the last 3.5 years, but we will reignite that process as a matter of urgency, looking at things such as heritage tourism, eco-agro-tourism, the yachting community, and I saw my friend Peter somewhere around, and community-based tourism. These are all strategies which need to be employed to make our product more robust and indeed more resilient. I want to introduce to you a man who some have said has been the best Minister of Tourism in the Democratic Labour Party administration. Very easygoing, very mild-mannered, very knowledgeable. Democratic Labour Party family, I give you the next representative for St. Michael South Central, Mr. Richard Seeley.
Well, when I best with Marshall, I can tell. Well, Seeley no line. Go up for Seeley and breathe. Go up for Seeley and breathe. He's the man for we. Go up for Seeley and breathe. Go up for Seeley and breathe. Unemployment high, people brat. Richard Seeley not to put the people in check. Long talk, we doing this correct. Things gonna happen and moves gonna match.
Thank you, well, and you look sweet too. Thank you, Ricky, and good night to the folks in Holders Hill, Haynesville, and all of the many surrounding areas in this wonderful constituency of St. James South. Well, I could really give a very short speech right now because I came down here for one reason and one reason alone, and that was to endorse the candidacy of Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. After that speech he put down, all I have to say is, did you hear? You heard that? Top quality is on offer for the people of St. James South.
And I must tell you, oh, we can get to her, don't worry. I must tell you, it has been nothing short of a pleasure to be on this team and to sit side by side with the likes of Ronnie. There's no doubt in my mind that he represents the future of the Democratic Labour Party. He and the cadre of youngsters that some of whom you heard from tonight, Alwyn Skeete from St. Andrew, you heard from Paul, good candidates that are on offer by this party who are determined to come up with programs that can get Barbados developing in a sustainable manner. Credit has to go to Verla De Peiza and indeed the entire Democratic Labour Party for crafting a program in the form of our manifesto that is not simply based on idle promises, but a workable program to get us out of this mess that we are in, and of course to propose useful developments that can redound to the benefit of all Barbadians. Hence the theme you see in our manifesto, the theme of this campaign, One Barbados. Now tell me that you are not impressed with what you just heard from Ronnie. He's thinking, he's very interested in policy development, even creative policies. And he's exactly what this country needs. And I'm going to tell you something else. St. Michael's South Central, my constituency, is rooting for Ronnie. All Barbados is rooting for Ronnie. There is a view that we need Ronnie in Parliament. He has served his tutelage. He came through the whole youth parliament system, learned his lessons from primary school right up to PhD. And that kind of quality needs to be in the House of Assembly. There are Barbados Labour Party supporters up and down this country who believe that he should be there as well. And I say to you, those of you who actually have the task of looking at a ballot paper and seeing the alternative, to think for a minute. Now, I don't know Sandra Husbands very well. She used to come down to Parliament quite a bit. I think she was in the Senate at one point, but she used to be there quite a bit, sitting in the gallery, and she seemed pleasant enough. But I would believe that you, the people of St. James South, deserve better. Nothing against the woman. I am not cursing Sandra Husbands. We don't do that. Ronnie did not call her name once in his address. He didn't have to, because politics is too important, and DLP politics is too important. If you want to hear cursing, go down to Tweedside Road right now, where the Barbados Labour Party has a meeting. They started cursing me at 7 o'clock. They're still cursing me, and they'll be cursing me at 5 to 12. Cursing Richard Seeley, 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 this, Richard Seeley. Calling my name from top to bottom. A forgotten tourism minister. No Lynch chairing the meeting. I didn't even know he still, apparently he's flown in, he came coming from the cold to chair that meeting. But again, we don't need to go down that road. Nothing against Sandra Husbands, but did any of y'all get her manifesto? You saw it? Well, I couldn't believe what I read. A letter to constituents that says nothing. Been doing it, she says. Been doing it. Look, I ain't making this up, you know. As we would say in another place, I can make this a document of the house and put it on the clerk's table. I ain't making this up, you know. Safeguarding your future. Facilitated the enrollment of young persons in the Youth Advanced Corps and the Prince's Trust. What is facilitating the enrollment? What is that? If you want to enroll, don't you go down there and fill out a form? So what does that mean? That she shared out a few forms to the branch office? Is this really what representation has come to? Oh, that ain't the best. That ain't the best. Look at the next one here. Distribution of 30 road tennis rackets. That's what she says. You know, vote for her because she shared out 30 road tennis rackets. You know what a road tennis racket is, though? You know, you could go on any... sorry. No, I forgot the important part. Because I gathered from some intelligence that she only gave them rackets, but the Prime Minister said to her, don't forget the balls. So it was 30 road tennis rackets and balls introducing youngsters to the game. A road tennis racket, a piece of boxing, as we call it from a construction site, and you cut it out. So in 3 years, 10 road tennis rackets a year for the last 3 years, and she thinks that she should continue being your representative against what you just heard that is on offer? No, I don't really want you. If you want this, you can have it to carry home to wrap fish with, because that's all this thing is good for. Well, I can't believe what I'm reading here. Provided tablets and assisted with the acquisition of tablets. Now, I don't know what the difference is between the two, but look, enough of that. You can have it to wrap fish with or do something useful. No, I ain't getting that. But, seriously speaking, we have a mission on our hands. We have work to do. The Democratic Labour Party is being called upon to provide a serious alternative to what is going on in this country. Because the reality is that the quality of life is in serious and significant decline. We have to come up with a program that will allow us to advance Barbados during a period of austerity, because the austerity is coming. Don't let anyone fool you. The reason that we are even in this exercise in the manner that we are is because austerity has to come. Now, I want to put it to you, based on all that you have seen from this government, and in particular from the Prime Minister, even the reckless and selfish act of calling an election during a pandemic when it's at its peak, that you need a little more responsibility in this task of navigating Barbados through this process. And it is on that basis that I say to you, in St. James South, vote for the Democratic Labour Party and vote for Ronnie Yearwood. Simple. But we need across Barbados to put the Democratic Labour Party in office such that we will be able to get us through this business in a manner that recognizes the human element. You see, unfortunately, after January 19th, when the Democratic Labour Party government is sworn into office, the debt ain't going away, you know. the debt is still going to be there. And we got a lot of it. 900 million alone from the International Monetary Fund and well past 2 billion in total. The only way we can get out of it in a sustainable way is to earn our way out of it. Borrowing to replace previous borrowing is not sustainable. And indeed, we had a program. We had a program of expanding tourism. And in fact, this team that we're offering is suggesting, and I completely agree, you can see it in the manifesto, that we can pivot from tourism into other exciting new industries. Paul Gibson tonight touched on one of them, the whole pharmacology realm. But we have to start to provide hope for the young people in this country who don't have hope. You have a government that has no intention of providing hope for young people. All of you know, many of them who have studied and are getting on aircraft and going and helping to develop other countries, mainly North Atlantic countries, the UK, Canada, and the US. But what are we really telling our young people? To go down to a constituency office and hope to get on a list to clean up ash and dust from the side of the road? Now, I think keeping Barbados clean is important. But don't tell me that that is a sustainable solution when it is only going to further contribute to the debt situation. You have to find jobs for our young people that are in the productive sectors, sectors that are earning foreign exchange for the country and not costing foreign exchange. But speaking about that ASH program thing, you know that they're taking $500 a week and just sticking in people's hands. No national insurance being deducted. People working on the side of the road, buses and cars, zipping up and down, feet away from where they're working. If something happened to one of them, they can't put in a claim for the sickness benefit from national insurance because they're not contributing. It's wrong, it is immoral, and as a matter of fact, it's illegal too. Because don't tell me that they're contractors or they're self-employed. If you're going to do it properly. But you see, it's all a part of a scam simply to put money in people's hands so that they will go and vote for the Barbados Labour Party. But they can get a shock, you know. They can get a shock. And scores of people simply, as Tom Adams would say, bribe them with their own money. Taxpayers' dollars. But the larger point about our youth and the level of hopelessness that pervades Barbados. And that is what we have to offer. A young team that is steeped in the philosophy of the Democratic Labour Party and determined to see that Barbados does better. And Barbados will do better. We can and we will. I spoke about the Article 4 consultation and the fact that it calls for ambitious policies to be put in place. And if the Prime Minister wants to do something useful during the campaign, talk about that. Talk about what her government thinks or is proposing in that regard. Why do you have to call a press conference to, in essence, critique the manifesto document of a political organization that you claim is not relevant to you, but you don't think you need to tell the people of Barbados why an election was called a year and a half early? And don't tell me because the Prime Minister can, because as a Prime Minister you have to do more than simply obey the law. You need to tell us why and what's really going on. And I believe that this campaign, or rather the campaign by the Barbados Labour Party in this general election, has been found wanting because they haven't been dealing with the issues that matter. The issues that matter in January 2022 that will have serious implications for generations to come. You drag the country into this republic status, even though we're using the Constitution from before. And we have to draft a republic, a new Constitution for the republic. And you ain't talking about that. What exactly is going to be contained therein? No, you prefer to get and call people names and curse night after night when you should be explaining to the people of Barbados what you're doing about that. We still have this COVID situation. I get the impression, I don't know about you, but the government has just thrown their hands up in the air. They don't know what to do now. Clearly, they're not serious about the curfew business. And we hear some chatter about mandatory vaccinations. And I think that you have an opportunity to also punish this government for not coming clean on that issue. Because they should be talking about that too. That should be an issue in this, from the platform for the government. But they're not talking about issues that matter, serious issues that matter. We are the party of positive policies. We understand what is beating in your chest and why it is we need to have Ronnie Yearwood in the House of Assembly. And I want you to keep that in mind because it is important. I've also noticed the manner in which resources are being thrown around during this election campaign. And that's something we're going to have to look at very seriously. And I know that Ronnie, as a parliamentarian and as a government minister, will be certainly central to that whole process of what we can do to make elections in Barbados free and fair. And if they're free, they're certainly very fair when you look at what is taking place. Last night in Deacon's Farm, I brought to their attention that the voters list had not, the final voters list had not been released yet. It was released today, this afternoon. We're talking 36 hours before, or maybe a little more than that, before the polls open, a final voters list is issued. Nothing is sacred anymore, it seems, under Motley. Just trample everything that means anything to right-thinking Barbadians. And I think that in order to allow some sanity to return to the corridors of government, we need to come out and support the Democratic Labour Party. It is clear that they have a particular mission. The financiers and the supporters, the big businessmen, the government is only concerned about pleasing them. The vast majority of Barbadians, the residents of Haynesville and Holders Hill, they don't matter to their cause. And that is why we had to theme this campaign One Barbados, because we are seeing two Barbadoses develop right before our eyes. And if we don't stop it in its tracks, it may become irreversible. And these simple things that can mushroom because people then start to accept them. And a pandemic is no excuse to see why big supermarkets, the biggest food distributor on the island, can be told, open up. And if you can't accommodate the people, let them snake all around the building. But the corner shops are said shut. Proprietors trying to eke out a living, can't pay utility bills, can't take care of their young ones. That's wrong. But it explains exactly the thinking of this government. I don't have a problem with a program to support the hoteliers in terms of dealing with the difficulty of a collapsed tourism industry. But all I'm saying is that if you can find $300 million to capitalize a program for hoteliers in the twinkling of an eye, you can find those funds. Then pray tell me why the housekeeper, the landscaper, and those at the front line of the sector have to wait 9 months to get their severance. Something is wrong with that. But as I say, to Barbadoses, you know, when they had the botched thing with the slogan, Big Island, what was it? Little Smile, Little Island, Big Smile, I think that there was a subliminal message there. There's the Barbados, little Barbados for little people, big Barbados for big people. Because clearly there is a divide. And there's no one that can challenge me on that point. I am certain that there are Barbados Labour Party supporters who are within my earshot, and I would challenge any one of them. Because I will maintain, whether you're a proponent of this government or an opponent of this government, whether you think they're virtuous, whether you think they're vice-laden, if you think they're good, if you think they're bad, if you are a beneficiary of them, if you are a victim of them, whatever the position is, all Barbadians are ad idem with one point, and that is, it is clear whose interests they represent. That is clear. And you need to reject that on January 19th and let us once again have a government that is for all Barbadians. And in doing that, you in St. James South, well, you get a bonus because you're going to get a quality representative in Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. I don't want to go on ad nauseum on the point about Ronnie and his quality. If it hasn't appeared, if you haven't realized it, I am a Ronnie fan. I make no apologies for that. But he represents the very best of what Barbados has produced. And again, I look forward to his long and his very productive career that will probably see him serving at the very highest levels in Barbados. That's what I want to. So, your task on January 19th is a very simple one. And dare I say, all of you in the parish of St. James, you have Charles Worrell at the top in St. James North. You have Paul Gibson in the center, who you heard from tonight in St. James Central. And then, of course, you have Ronnie here in St. James South. Support the Democratic Labour Party. Make sure you come out early. Do not stay home. Do not allow Miss Motley to succeed by keeping you home. The whole reason for this election during the pandemic is so we have a low turnout because that benefits them. Don't be fooled. Come out early, sanitize, wear your mask, and make sure you drive those X's next to Ronnie, next to Paul, next to all of the Democratic Labour Party candidates. God bless you. Thank you so much, and good night.
Cost of living is my main concern, cause I know get paid, my money done burn, so breathe. Walk silly and breathe. He's the man for weed. Walk silly and breathe. Walk silly and breathe. Walk silly and breathe. Walk silly and breathe.
Did you hear the message? Did you hear the message, St. James? You know what you need to do come the 19th of January. Paul Gibson in St. Michael Central. Ronnie Yearwood in St. James Central, sorry for Paul Gibson. And St. James South, Ronnie Yearwood. So vote on January 19th. But we still coming for you tonight. It is my honor tonight now to make the introduction for a daughter of Lucy's soil, for the lady who is going to lead this team into the next general election, and on January 19th will be the next representative for the lady in the north, St. Lucy. I say to you, you have had a clear and stark choice in leadership. You have the choice of someone who follows the law, who gives you ideas and policy and comes to you as a people. Because leadership is about leading people, but also having followers who understand what policy is and how it is implemented. I don't think that you get that on the other side. I am faced every day by a lady who thinks she can overrule the law. With a phone call, if you remember, she can override it. But you have gotten from the leader of this party, Verla De Peiza, clear messages on how we will deal with COVID come the 20th of January. You have gotten clear messages on what our educational and labor policy will be. And I don't think you need any more urging to understand that come January 19th, vote Verla De Peiza in St. Lucie, vote DLP in Barbados, and put a government at the helm which cares about you. I have no intention of waxing lyrical tonight. It is time for you to see the daughter of Lucy's soil here yourself. It is going to be time for the people of St. Lucie to be represented by a strong woman. And I ask you to welcome her, embolden her, put her in your prayers tonight so she is empowered for the next 2 days to do what is necessary to take your country back on your behalf. I welcome Verla De Peiza tonight. I ask you to bring her to the stage with the acclaim that she deserves. Verla Graves De Peiza, the next Prime Minister of Barbados.
Vote for Verla, vote for Verla, vote. We need a Prime Minister representing St. Lucie, and Verla will make it happen. Verla will make it happen. We need a true leader to help St. Lucie, and Verla will make it happen. Verla will make it happen. We need clean water and not a tanker. Verla will make it happen. Verla will make it happen. We need a gemstone, not a flintstone. Verla will make it Verla will make it happen. Yabba dabba doo.
Good night, St. James. I'm glad you're blowing your horns because we are in peculiar times. But the Democratic Labour Party keeps thinking about its people. And we came up with this drive-in strategy for our annual conference. But we couldn't get permission to do it. And look how life is. Just a few months afterwards, and this is the model that the police and the COVID unit prefer. That you stay in your cars and hear what we have to say because it keeps you safer than if you were all bunched up together. We're in weird, weird times. But you know, whenever you have a crisis is when your best ideas come to the fore. When you have a crisis is when it shows whether or not you truly have what it takes to lead. Because it is easy to go along when things are running according to plan and to go through the motions of a tried and true plan. But when you have testing times is when the steel and the grit and the true character come to the surface. And we watched that happen in Barbados. We watched that play out. Because before COVID, we were in tough times. And in those moments before COVID, under this outgoing administration, we saw the signs that caused us disturbance when it came to leadership. We already saw in those moments things that caused us to pause. They may not have caused us to react, but they caused us to pause. It was during that time that we saw in what we thought was a settled issue, because the court had already given an order to settle the Clico matter with Resolution Life. But we saw the Prime Minister of the day decide that she knew better than the courts and that she had a different plan to put through Parliament. And she circumvented the court order and came up with a different plan. And that should have been a clue, a really big, big clue, even if we were not listening to Owen Arthur, and even if we were not listening to Maria Agard, that should have been a clue as to the type of leadership that we were going to get. The my way or the highway type of leadership. And we really and truly had that before COVID. And I'm just giving that one example because we are all on a press for time. But there are things that we need to discuss. And we watched because we were told to watch. But we had the inkling that things were not right with our leadership. And then we came to COVID. And at the very first opportunity, before we even felt the impact in any major way, leadership, as it stood then, took a stand for itself. Because we had emergency provisions that allowed for a district emergency management system to get in amongst our people and know what need was and to deal with it. But we took that piece of legislation and bastardized it to give a one person all the power to make laws in this country under a state of emergency. And it wasn't even necessary, because they were already having cabinet meetings via Zoom, a phone call away. But the opportunity was snatched to make leadership about one person. And then, during COVID, because one person, and they kept stressing on it, that one person was making the shots called. In a by-election, we were told that all the big work's got to come through one person. So everything leaning on the one peg. And then we saw it play out in full and fine form during the pandemic, when it was time to bring vaccines to this country. And we learned, by the way, and belatedly, from someplace outside of Barbados, that the most harebrained scheme had been hatched for a company to source vaccines at a price higher than the manufacturer was offering directly to governments. And the Minister of Health had no idea about it. And once again, we heard a one person say that they decided that this was the way it was to be done. And we were told that we didn't have to bother about that bad decision making, because that is really the crux of the matter. It was a poor and awful demonstration of leadership. And we were told that we didn't have to worry about it because the government of Barbados had not handed over any money to that company to buy the vaccines. Now, I'm not going to get into right this minute whether or not that is bad law, because we've had bad law coming out from that other side consistently for 3.5 years. So we can assure ourselves that that is bad law. But what I want to know tonight, what I want to ask on behalf of the people of Barbados, is if the word coming to my ears is true, that we actually did give money to somebody to buy vaccines. Millions of our taxpayers' money given to somebody else to bring vaccines to this country that have not yet landed on these shores. And I would like to know if the person to whom our monies were entrusted is, as the word comes to my ears, I want to know if it is true that that person is not in the business of procuring drugs for this country. I should really say pharmaceuticals. But rather is a specialist in a medical field that has nothing to do with the pandemic. I want to know if our good and strong leadership also led the charge with that. And when it is, if it is true that the people of Barbados were going to be told about that deal. Because we have come to an election called early with all sorts of missteps happening, with all sorts of nonsense going down, and we are supposed to believe that the only issue in this election is leadership. But if it is that you want to talk about leadership, tell me about all of these bad moves that you made that demonstrate that you are not fit to lead in this country. We need to know what is happening with our money. And whilst we're on it, instead of calling figures in relation to the garbage and sewage contribution, how about showing us the balance sheet so that we know how much money was brought in every month off of our water bills, and then show us how you spent the money on behalf of the people of Barbados, because it is not going into the consolidated fund, and we can't just take your word for it. We want to see. We want to see what money was collected and how it is being used. I want to know, on behalf of the people of Barbados, this great fame to leadership, and why it is that people are marching away from the other side, one after the other, if the leadership is so great. Why we can have members of parliament after 3 years deciding that they're done. Why we can have the Minister of Health deciding he is finished with it. Why we can have your best friend walking away from you if you are so great. And why you're spending all the time focusing over here when what the country really needs to hear from you is how you plan to take it forward, because that is what leadership really means. And how you could bring out a manifesto that doesn't repeat what you had in the last manifesto that you didn't do, but you could find time to hold a press conference to talk about the manifesto of the Democratic Labour Party. Although I want to thank you for the free advertising, because it has sent many a person to read and see what it is that the Democratic Labour Party has to offer. And the only critique that you can give, you can't say it is not balanced, because it is. Not a single non-government economist has come out and said that it is an unworkable plan. And I want you, St. James and Barbados, and those of you online, to take note of that. We are literally on the eve of an election, and the noted economists in Barbados who are not politically aligned have not rubbished the manifesto of the Democratic Labour Party. Give yourselves a round of applause, because this is the manifesto of the people of Barbados. This is the manifesto that promises you that progress and prosperity, not just on the cover, but all through the document. And the only critique that they can come up with is that it can be too expensive. But they can find the money to prop up big business. They can find the money to throw down for a general election. They can find the money to do what they want, but they can't find the money to invest in the people of Barbados. But the Democratic Labour Party will continue to carry that mantle on behalf of the people of Barbados. This is our calling. This is our duty. And this is our solemn promise to the people of Barbados. There will not be a shirking from that responsibility. And we don't care who they haul up from their political graves to talk about me. We don't care who they resurrect, having run away and hidden. We don't mind because we know that we have a different style of leadership over here. And that there is a reason that people are running and scattering from the other side. And you witnessed it for yourself. And Barbados is learning the lesson tonight. We rebuilt and reshaped ourselves in 3.5 years to be able to produce to this country, first, a credible platform of candidates. All 30 of us, credible platform. And then to produce a credible manifesto. Not promises, but pledges. And it has to be worrisome on the other side that we could achieve so much in a short space of time and with so little resources. But you in Democratic Labour Party country know the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into the reclamation of this party. And therefore you know that when you walk about in your yellow shirts and your blue shirts, that you are able to convince the rest of Barbados that we are ready for this task. Because we could fix ourselves in time and we can rescue Barbados in time. We are on a mission, and night after night we will continue until the 19th, just a few short hours away, when all of Barbados gets to decide for itself. You want to talk on leadership? I am not patterning myself after the other side. This is not about stargazing and creating demigods in this country. This is about propping up our people. This is about bringing out the best in our people. This is about finding the solutions to the problems that we have and having a vision and a mission on behalf of the people of Barbados. We do not want to do this alone. The Democratic Labour Party stands before Barbados. You get to weigh us in the balance again. You get to determine whether you see something different this time around. You get to analyze and you get to scrutinize us. And you have watched us night after night after night as we preach the gospel of the Democratic Labour Party across the landscape of Barbados. And as we touch and concern each of you as we carry on our ground game, because that was the mandate given to every candidate. Get on the ground and do your work. It doesn't matter when the bell rings once you have done your work. And my candidates will tell you that as often as possible, I told them every morning you get up. You are 21 days away from an election because that is the shortest period of time within which one could be called. And so when they thought that we were caught napping, although I can't figure why that would be, when we had a candidates launch on the 4th of December to signal to the entire country that we were ready whenever they were. And we have come out sensitive to the times that we are in, calling you out, but keeping you safe. And constantly raising our people up with the policies that we present. That is the history of the Democratic Labour Party. That is the philosophy of the Democratic Labour Party. That is the present Democratic Labour Party. And that is the future of the Democratic Labour Party. And we intend to take Barbados with us on this journey. Because whenever there has been a tough call in this country has called on the Democratic Labour Party, and we will always answer that call. We have heard your pleas. And so within this manifesto, we have provisions that despite the shoutings on the other side, we know that you understand what it is that we are looking to do in redressing the imbalances in this society. The opportunity for you using your credit unions to make a step forward in your development. The opportunity for you using the banks who would no longer have the asset tax tying them down to be able to invest in your dreams and your visions for your family. The ability for our entrepreneurship spirit to pull us out of the quagmire that we financially are in at this point in time. And giving ourselves the space in our pocket by going to the page that gives the corrective measures for the cost of living. Because when you are able to live comfortably, then you are a better consumer and, more importantly, a better investor in our country. And because they have spoiled government paper for approximately a generation and a half, if not two, we have decided to let those waters calm. What we will do in relation to those J-series bonds that they insulted the people of Barbados by first offering them. That is the first insult. Government owes you money and they want to pay you in the thing that they spent precious little time treasuring. And they want you to take J-series bonds. And secondly, they bring a bond that carries no interest. And then to add insult to injury and to rub salt in the wound, if you want to cash it out, you have to take it in 42 monthly installments. That is one of the corrective measures. Those J-bonds at least should give interest. For crying out loud, any other investment of any type, you would be expecting to earn, not to lose. And so we have a whole set of corrective measures alongside giving the space for you to invest and the room for you to save, and that businesses also get to operate within the space. Because as I say night after night, we cannot speak about one Barbados and just talk about our flesh and blood people. We also have to make space and room for our businesses to thrive and grow. Because we also want you as individuals to feel confident enough to open your own businesses. And so we have to make provisions across the board. But that is how you build a nation. That is how you create a one Barbados. That is how we help one another out. And my time tonight with you is really short, but I want to leave one thing with you. When we were learning of the vaccine scandal, we heard that the Bahamas had invested, that St. Lucia had invested, and that Barbados had invested. St. James and Barbados. The Bahamas voted out that government. St. Lucia voted out that government. And on the 19th of January, you get to vote out this government. Don't break the chain. Come out in your numbers on the 19th of January and show them that you know what real leadership is, that you don't want an overlord, that you want someone who will hold your hand and guide you up and help you along, that you want to be able to look to your left and to your right and see your brother and bring them along, and that this is the Barbados that you want for your future, and that you will not stay home. You will insist upon going out regardless of the conditions. But just like tonight, how you have stayed in your vehicles, just like tonight, how you have distanced yourselves socially, just like tonight, on the morning of the 19th, you will be equally responsible as you stay your distance from one another, as you mask up, carry your sanitizer and your own pencil, and mark that X for meaningful change in this country. Mark that X for leadership that does not oppress you. Mark that X for your Democratic Labour Party candidate. And on the night of the 19th and the morning of the 20th and into the bank holiday of our founding father, Errol Barrow, on the 21st, we will carry our celebrations on responsibly, but we will carry our celebrations on knowing that we have done our part to secure our future, a future that we can be proud of. I thank you.
Vote for Verla, vote for Verla, vote. We need a prime minister representing St. Lucia, and Verla will make it happen. Verla will make it happen. We need a true leader to help St. Lucia, and Verla will make it happen. Verla will make it happen. We need clean water and not that time car. Verla will make it happen. Verla will make it happen. We need a gemstone, not a flintstone. Verla will make it happen. Verla will make it happen. Flintstone, Mr. Flintstone, your time is up now. Your time is up now.
When I like that, no? You have no doubt about the leadership coming from the Democratic Labour Party. We have given you the message of one Barbados. It is time for you to take the opportunity and vote on January 19th. As I tell the people of St. Michael Northeast every day, vote for Damien Griffith. Don't worry about the other side. Put your vote in the Democratic Labour Party, because we will carry you forward into a better future. Now I have the opportunity and the great pride to introduce one final speaker to you. You know the man I'm going to bring to you tonight. You know his style of educating the people, and he will dissect what has been put before you. Listen and learn tonight, people. You are going to be expounded upon too by the representative in waiting for St. Philip West. The first time in 3.5 years that the people of St. Philip West can say that they will have representation. Welcome Dr. David Estwick to the stage.
DLP, we voting DLP. DLP, we voting DLP. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going with DLP. DLP for all of me. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going with DLP. DLP for all of me. We got the plan to save this nation. Together we stand with the Democratic Labour Party. One Barbados, unite is a must. For sure you can trust the Democratic Labour Party. To serve the people, serve the people, serve the people, work for the people, serve the people.
Let me say a pleasant good evening to everyone. And it was indeed a pleasure to listen to Verla's wonderful speech and rousing speech. I also want to say that I listened to Dr. Yearwood very carefully, and I have significant appreciation regarding the capacity of this young man. This is a young man that has the capability of working in any country around this world, but he has chosen to use his capability and his skills to help uplift this country of ours. And we must give him that opportunity to go up the steps of Parliament. And I'll be looking forward to going up the steps of Parliament with him. And I'm asking all of you in this constituency to lift this young man up, become the wind underneath his wings, support him at all times, because I have great confidence in his capacity to be an excellent representative. The only task you now have to do is go out there on the 19th and vote Ronnie Yearwood from morning, noon, and night. Look, I want to take a little time this evening to talk to you on a few very serious matters. Because I have said already that politics, when it is all over, and all economics, all matters of finance, comes down to basic common sense. It comes down to how do you use the theories to carry out predictions and define explanations as to what you see in order to improve the lives of the people who you are representing and governing. It is nothing more than that. And in the final analysis, what I want to say to you are these three things that I will build on to explain where Barbados is and what we need to do. What is the problem that we have in this country that we have to solve? What is the problem? The problem that we have to solve in Barbados, as it continues over and over and over, is how do we build a resilient economy? How do we build an economy that when there's a recession in England, when there's a recession in the United States, that our economy doesn't fall flat on the ground and we cannot survive unless we go cap in hand to the International Monetary Fund? How do we build an economy that is not that vulnerable and we keep going around in a circle all the time? We need to understand that in order to do this, we have to go back and understand the history of three elements of our development. One, we were a colony. 2, we produced sugar. 3, we produced sugar and sold it to Europe. So the first vulnerability was that we were producing products not for ourselves, for somebody else. Number 1. 2, the great, my excellent Errol Barrow understood that in order to reduce that vulnerability, he had to diversify the economy. So Errol Barrow went and developed the Hilton Hotel. He went and he developed the Harbor Industrial Estate. He developed Gazettes. He developed 6 Rows. He developed Wildy because he understood that we must lessen that vulnerability. What went on after that was that the economy evolved in regards to these 2 sectors. But what happened is it did not decrease our vulnerability. In fact, the vulnerability of the Barbados economy became even more significant because now, whenever there's an international crisis, tourists can't come to Barbados, you're back to square one. You develop international business. Whenever there's an international crisis, you're back to square one. And as a result, we have evolved an economy that we are now vulnerable to international economic circumstances. And this is where I think, from my own experience and understanding of these matters, that we need to move the Barbados economy in a direction where we limit that vulnerability. We can do it. Look, one of the architects of this is my good friend, former good friend, the late Owen Arthur. Owen Arthur followed what is called, without getting into any fancy terms of it, he believed, like others in the Caribbean, that we were too small to produce for ourselves. So what we had to do was import. And as a result of that, we destroyed our national bank. We destroyed our insurance companies. We didn't develop manufacturing. We did not develop agriculture because we felt that we can grow 2 hotels and grow 4 condominiums and that can raise the foreign exchange that you want in order to satisfy the development of the country. No. Because when it's an international crisis, you got a problem. Back to square one. Back to square one. If I were wrong, I will say this to you tonight. I want you to go back to Owen's presentation in Royal Eastman's constituency. And I will never forget it. In September 2007, Owen Arthur said he had to sell the land to pay the bills. He said Barbadians wanted to go to heaven, but they didn't want to die. He said that we didn't want casinos, so the only way he could get the foreign exchange was to sell the land from under Barbadians to all the people on the West Coast. The point I'm trying to make here is this. The strategy did not handle dealing with the vulnerability of this rock. And the Democratic Labour Party will have to deal with that if we are going to transform this economy in such a way that it can provide proper jobs. Because economies are about jobs. Without jobs, you can't spend. Without spend, you can't get taxes. Without taxes, government can't spend in the economy in order to provide goods and services. It is as simple as that. So the fundamental thing is that you can't have a job that as soon as a downturn in America, you lost a job. Because if that happens to you, every 8 years, whenever there's an international crisis, half of Barbadians out of jobs. That's what happens. That's what happens. And I'm saying that it is time for us to build a new way out of that. And I am confident that with the skills that is presently within the Democratic Labour Party and working within our framework with our leadership, that we are going to be able to achieve this. And you can rest assured that that is a promise from this platform and from me for sure. Look, let me give you the most simple example of what I mean. You all remember when Robert Mugabe decided he was going to confiscate all of the agricultural lands in Zimbabwe? He did it, and the Zimbabwe economy collapsed because he did not appreciate that the majority of land was owned and held by British expatriates. So they wanted to get rid of the white domination and dominant control of land and the spilloffs of land in terms of production of goods and services. What Mugabe did not understand was that if you get rid of that, you destroy your entire productive base and the whole supply side of the economy dropped out and we're in a hyperinflation. Now, same thing happened in Venezuela. Watch Venezuela. Next door, with people in garbage cans, struggling to eat. Had to go to Colombia and all about the place. 7 million going to America and all about the place. Same reason. When oil prices were high, between $100 and $130, Chavez made all sorts of money. And Chavez took the decision that the best way to deal with his own economic circumstances was to shut down his internal capacity to produce food and produce goods and services. A colossal mistake. And when the oil prices fell, he didn't have the money to import food and goods and services in Venezuela. And Venezuela is now the basket case of Latin America. I am bringing these examples to you to understand what I'm saying to you. And therefore, I am going to be very fervent and I am going to be very strident, working within this great party to make sure that as we have defined in elements of the manifesto, that we will be moving to reposition the domestic production base of this country. And what we are going to do, we are going to support that domestic base by two critical pieces of infrastructure. Most small business people in this country know that they can't get a loan. If you want to go and get a loan, you got to carry a lot of collateral. And when you do get the loan, the interest rate high. Now, outside of that, a small businessman want to get a contract from a government. The two problems he has is that there's a threshold to qualify. But this race beaten. They want a performance bond. Where you going to get the money from? They want insurance. Where is you going to get the money from? These are the things that inside this party we are going to fix on behalf of the small business people in this country. And I'm going to make sure, working with Verla and the team in this Democratic Labour Party, that we understand that 70% of economic activity in Barbados is driven by small business. 70%. So unless the government takes the risk on behalf of the small businessman or entrepreneur who doesn't have the capital to invest, and we put the guarantee and security mechanisms to get him past the line where he can become productive, we go nowhere. And I'm sick and tired of it. I've now seen it for the last one, 1974. And nothing changes over and over and over, chasing your tail over and over and over. I don't believe that is the path that this great party is going to be involved with. Look, let me explain this. One of the things, I remember when the president spoke, I think it was in Britain, the president spoke to unleashing some of the capacity of the over 60 in terms of land tax and other waivers. Let me say that I support the measures fundamentally. I support them fundamentally because the over 60 in Barbados is a growing population. The under between 20 and 40 is a declining population. So if you already have an aged population and the people who are young, that number is declining, well then, young people ain't got no money. Young people ain't got no house. Young people ain't got no assets. So therefore they have nothing. So it's the older people who can drive the economic activity in the country, and all we gotta do is go and determine how we deal with the tax structure that allows the persons over 60 the capacity to spend their money. Spend their money and help drive the economy. If we don't do it, we can't get out of the hole. The way why we can't get out of the hole is because the population of over 60 is increasing. If that is increasing and those under 40 decreasing, you have to adjust your tax structure. You cannot continue with this old type economics. This is modern demographic economics in regards to how it will work to enhance and develop this little rock of ours. It calls for new innovative thinking regarding our tax modeling and so on. But those will come. Those will come. Because I am going to be working hard within this party to make sure that these things become a reality for you. And all this nonsense that you pay in this country is a situation where your income tax, you pay, you get a salary, you get a wage, and out of that, you pay taxes. Something called a contribution tax. Some may call it a PAYE. But we then do an NIS tax. If you are already taxed out of your income, why should you have a double taxation when you got your pension and that be taxed again? Nonsense. We need to unleash the capacity of the older people to spend the money and drive economic activity in the country. Secondly, there's nonsense. If the over 60 population growing, how can you take a man who decides that he wants to take early retirement, and in early retirement, in order for him to qualify, he has to agree to take 6% reduction in his pension every year up to age 67. So if you come out at age 60, you lose 42% of your pension. How is that going to work? That's the group that you need to have them have the money to spend, man. You're a bunch of puppets, but here what? We went to school. Ignorant economics. And look, let me also say this. In order to unleash the creative capacity of all the young people in this country, the Democratic Labour Party manifesto has some wonderful measures, all of which I support. But I draw on my experience as being former Minister of Trade, Industry and Commerce. And I draw on my experience as being Minister of Economic Planning and Development. I can draw on that knowledge because I have it. The reality is this. In Barbados, when I canvassed today in Charnots, yesterday in Mangrove, the young people told me about the challenges accessing not only funding at what we call soft rates, but the pressure on them is the collateralization that is required. And what happens to them is that they do not have the appropriate inputs to help them along when they form their business. Now, we ain't going to reinvent the wheel. Look and see what China did. Look and see what Singapore did. What they did was that the government stepped in and they built centers for innovation, research, and development. I say to the young people in this country, or their country, if you have a product to build, use that facility free of charge. Go in there and do the research. Go in there and do the development. Go in there and produce the products. And when you produce something, you need to work with the government to make it become real. That is how you get some multi-billionaires in China today. We can do it in Barbados. Because I learned 2 things from being a medical doctor. When you're 2 years, all just said goo goo gaga. I don't care where you're born. So therefore, that tells me something. It doesn't matter how you teach them, how you get them to understand critical thinking, things that we don't know, teach the way we ought to. So what I'm trying to say is this. You're not going to transform the economic base of the country unless we begin to put these administrative elements in place and then support it with the requisite financial modeling. And that is why something I am going to ask the leadership of this party to seriously consider the re-establishment of a Barbados development and add an investment bank to it. And that bank must have the capacity to concentrate only on domestic production and also for production in manufacturing, agriculture, energy, and specific import substitution, because we've got to save foreign exchange if we're going to go green. We've got to save foreign exchange if we're going to go green. And I am confident that the president and the other leaders amongst all of us will be able to work out how we can get these things done. It is the right way to go forward. Without that, let me explain something simple. And that is why I always quarrel with my friend Owen after. I said, Owen, you were caught in the neoliberal politics. Because you believe in this thing called comparative advantage. And you're too small to compete. Okay? If we're too small to compete, then why are you asking me to free my markets for if you know I can't compete? If I can't compete with you, why should I open up my market to you where you can sell something to me at 3 cents and I can produce it at 8 cents? Well, all I mean is everybody in my country got to go home. Or buy your products and sell them in a supermarket or in a store in town. You can't develop a country that way. COVID-19 is the best example. When you're going to have another crisis where you can't rely on them, you're going to rely by yourself as much as you can. That idiotic old-time economics is flawed when applied to small developing countries because they already know you can't compete with them. Even though they know that, they want you to free up your market to take them products. They want you to reduce all your duties to let the product come in. They want you to liberalize financially, let the money come in and flow in and out. And in all of that, when the international crisis comes, and because you can't compete, you're the first to suffer, that's what IMF come and tell you. They come and tell you, if you want money from me, here's what you got to do. Send home people from the public service. Send home people from statutory corporations. Cut your pensions. Cut your wages. Cut your salaries. Increase bus fares. Increase water. Everything you were already suffering. And what they were telling you to do is to suffer more. My position is very simple. Very, very simple. Do not lend us money to send home people. Do not lend us money to cut wages and salaries of poor people. Provide us with the money to build out the infrastructure that we want so that we can compete in a better way with you. We have a better chance doing it that way. And we got to stop this nonsense, believing that old-time foolishness that we can't do this thing because comparative advantage and so on and so on. Barbados can have a better comparative advantage of probably nobody in the world. There is 6 square miles. One farm in America, I went to Ohio. Because I did my training when I was dealing with oral facial surgery in Ohio. One farm in Ohio bigger than Barbados. One farm. If one farm in Ohio bigger than Barbados, how can a producer in Barbados that produce 50 chickens compete with anybody? Or 1,000 chickens or 5,000 chickens? Understand what I'm saying. So what you need to do is talk the economy around and concentrate on an economy for domestic production and consumption. And on the external side, when we say that, is what you import. That is where you need the foreign reserves. Because then everything we can produce locally. The way you handle that is that you do foreign direct investment. And the foreign direct investment must be an investment that is known as productive debt. Not money term. All it simply means is when you borrow to build foreign exchange to build a project, that project must create foreign exchange when it is done. That's all it means. And that takes the pressure off of the government having to look for foreign reserves via international business and tourism. Therefore, the strategic approach would be to utilize this strategy. It's used beautifully in Sweden. It is used beautifully in Switzerland and also in Grand Cayman. And I understood that attempts were made a while back to do it here. Look, you all have common sense. Let me say we got a project in the country, building a 12-story hotel, and the money coming in from overseas. Let's say it's $100 million for convenience. Out of the $100 million that come in foreign reserves, there's a domestic component in the project costs. So out of $100 million in U.S. currency that come in, the domestic component may be $40 million. So what you do is that the $40 million that is domestic component substituted by domestic investment and take the $40 million of the foreign reserves and put it in the central bank in a special account. And if you do that multiple times with multiple projects, you can build up foreign reserves in a significant way. They don't understand what they are doing. They don't get it. They don't get it. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, these are things that I am going to be asking this great party to put in place to help us transform this rock and decrease the vulnerability that this economy has. As it is getting somewhat late in the evening, I want to say to you this. You were deceived once. If you allow yourself to be deceived again by the Barbados Labour Party, it would be quite unfortunate. I want all of you to decide there today to understand what is meant when we speak about a one Barbados. Understand the one Barbados means that this great party respects the culture, the identity of the Barbadian man. A culture that was hard fought and an identity that was hard fought. And I want you to understand that we are at the stage in our development where a lot of our fundamental values and the systems that we hold there are under threat. Not only from the principles of democracy, but a more fundamental attack on who we are. Who we are. Let me be a little bit brutal. When I was a young boy, I used to hear boy Estwick down, go down St. James and bend down. Down there is no bend down territory. Everybody always knows what he's saying is true. That's the back of life. And the point I want to make is this. Everybody in Barbados and around the world know that you have men that live with men and women that live with women. So what? I don't care. The point I'm making is, if you want to change the Constitution to make it legal, and you want to force the churches in Barbados to marry same-sex, come and discuss it with the people. Don't come and bring it through the back door. No talk about say cohabitation. What is that? And you're going to put the churches in a very invidious and egregious position. And I'm trying to say to you, these are fundamental to who we are. And if you're going to change fundamental characteristics of a society, you have to talk to the people who are going to be affected by those changes. This is all I am basically saying to you tonight. And I know you all know the truth. And what I am telling you now is not a BLP-DLP matter. It is more fundamental. It's about our history, our culture, our people, who we are. And you need to stop it. And the only way it can be stopped is on the 19th, getting them out of office and letting this great party take over the reign of government. And I'm happy and I'm confident that I know all the people in the Democratic Labour Party. I've known everyone who's been on the platform in every one of our platforms for a very long time. We are intelligent people. We are people who understand you because we come from with you, from amongst you. And we also are people who will tell you the truth. That we are not deceivers and decepticons like them. We will come in and tell you what is wrong, how we can fix it. If we can fix half today, we can try to fix the other half next week and next month. We will not lie to you. We will be honest to you. You know, the weather in 6 Rows a couple days. Man, I hear some of the worst things about David Estwick. But you know what? I ain't got nothing to say about none of them. Because I don't have my time to waste. I fought them in Parliament for 2003, and they can't beat me when I was in Parliament. They can't beat me now. They can't beat me now. I'm much stronger intellectually and stronger in regards to politics and economics than all them people. And I say this. I want to now stand behind my good friend Ronnie. And I want you all guys to stand behind this great party. And I want you to remember all the great things this party has done over the years for everybody in this country. Even for the BLPs who are forgotten. But we are dear loving people. And when you are dear loving people, you forgive and you forget. And you concentrate on what is important. You concentrate on developing the country for all of us. You do what you need to do. Put your personal biases beside or aside. And you concentrate on national development and national issues. And I am confident this great Democratic Labour Party will do that for you. And I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, to please come out. Come out on January 19th. Go out early in the morning. Don't wait for your grandfather. Eat some tea and go. Send out a car for him. But bring out everybody. What the Barbados Labour Party does, and I hope that we don't do it, is to bring out our people on election day. Go and find them. Get them out. And once you do that, I am confident the Democratic Labour Party will be successful. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, as we have a curfew battle to deal with. Good night.
Serve the people, serve the people, serve the people, work for the people. Serve the people, serve the people, serve the people. We go in with DLP, one Barbados for you and me. We go in with DLP, DLP for all of we. We go in with DLP, one Barbados for you and me. We go in with DLP,
DLP for all of we. DLP, we voting DLP. DLP, we voting DLP. To Barbados.
Ladies and gentlemen, Democratic Labour Party family, St. James family, St. James North, St. James South, St. James Central. We thank you this evening for your attentiveness. It has been a wonderful evening. We've heard from the seniors and we've heard from the not so seniors. All in all, we've had some wonderful presentations. We ask you to go out on the 19th of January. Wear your mask, take your sanitizer, watch your social distancing, go out in your numbers and vote for the Democratic Labour Party. Vote for a solid, family-oriented, God-fearing party. I want you to get home safely. God bless you, and good night.
Everybody vote Dems. Everybody vote Dems. Everybody vote Dems. Everybody vote Dems. Everybody, everybody, everybody.
DLP, we voting DLP. DLP, we voting DLP. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going with DLP. DLP for all of we. We going with DLP. One Barbados for you and me. We going with DLP. DLP for all of we. We got the plan to save this nation. Together we stand with the Democratic Labour Party. One Barbados, unite is a must. For sure you can trust the Democratic Labour Party to serve the people, serve the people.